Chapter 4865. Lu Dechang had specifically asked Lin Yi to take care of his son, but Lin Yi had just come out of his closed-door training before they set off. He didn't see him on his own along the way, so he didn't know him. He just had some guesses based on his unique appearance that was exactly the same as Lu Dechang's. Bao Zhuoyang? Hey, cover your mother's head. Lu Xiaozhong's words ignited the atmosphere. Everyone was shocked. Probably only this one-track-minded guy would dare to scold Bao Zhuoyang to his face like this. Lu Xiaozhong, what did you say? Bao Zhuoyang's face suddenly darkened. He stared at Lu Xiaozhong with an unkind expression and sandwiched him in the middle with Su Kexing. I said cover your mother's head, so what? You want to hear it a third time if you can't hear it clearly? Lu Xiaozhong was not afraid at all in the face of this posture. He had clashed with Bao Zhuoyang more than once or twice, so he had long been accustomed to it. Moreover, this time he was simply targeting Bao Zhuoyang. You're courting death. Bao Zhuoyang gritted his teeth in anger and was about to make a move immediately. Seeing this, Su Kexing also blocked Lu Xiaozhong's retreat with an unkind expression. Really? I'm waiting for you to make a move. It's just the right time to take revenge for what happened last time. Come on. Lu Xiaozhong took a posture fearlessly. I wasn't afraid of you when I was only at the peak of the late nascent soul stage, let alone now that I'm at the peak of the nascent soul stage. I'm not afraid of you. Bao Zhuoyang choked and looked at Su Kexing. He had no choice but to stop. Only then did he remember that after taking the vitality cultivation pill, Lu Xiaozhong was also at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Otherwise, he wouldn't have appeared here. In the past, he could still suppress Lu Xiaozhong by relying on his advantage in level, but now this advantage was gone. Moreover, Lu Xiaozhong fought like a madman. Previously, when he was only at the peak of the late nascent soul stage, he was barely weaker than Bao Zhuoyang. Bao Zhuoyang needed Su Kexing's help to completely suppress him. Now that he was at the peak of the nascent soul stage, the two of them together might not be able to win. Seeing Lu Xiaozhong suddenly jumping out to disturb the situation, Lin Yi couldn't help but be stunned. Like father like son was exactly the same as his father Lu Dechang. But come to think of it, this was a good move. Otherwise, Bao Zhuoyang would take the captain's seat in the end if no one came out to fight for it. If that guy wanted to separate him from Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, it'd be troublesome if he had to go against him. Of course, Lin Yi was not afraid of trouble. A mere Bao Zhuoyang was not worthy of his attention. However, the path of a tycoon was, after all, guarded by the higher-ups of the academy. Unless it was absolutely necessary, otherwise, Lin Yi also did not want to rashly make a mess. He came here to attack the profound Ascension realm, not to play with a fool. Lin Yi was laughing to himself when Lu Xiaozhong suddenly changed the topic. Bao Wuliang, who only knows how to pull off women's skirts, wants to be the captain? Stop joking. I think there's only one person here who's truly qualified to be the team leader, and that's Master Lin. Everyone was stunned and their gazes instantly focused on Lin Yi. Did I have something to do with this? Lin Yi was still in a daze. He was not a disciple of the Morning Star Academy, but an outsider who came to participate in the trial. He had never thought of leading the team. Bullshit, he's not even from our academy, how can he be our captain? Bao Zhuoyang immediately jumped up. Why can't he be? Even Master Qing Danzi is Master Lin's disciple. Since Master Qing Danzi is the chief alchemist of the academy, then Master Lin is naturally a senior of the academy. You can ask everyone here, ask them if there's anyone who disagrees. Lu Xiaozhong said confidently. Bao Zhuoyang was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. This kind of question didn't need to be asked at all. Just by looking at the uniform movement of everyone's necks, it was clear that they were only a little afraid of him, the son of the city lord, but in the face of a freak like Lin Yi, they were completely in awe. The deterrence between the two was on a completely different level. He racked his brains to come up with this suggestion in order to create an opportunity for himself, not to let others pick the peaches, especially when the person picking the peaches was Lin Yi, who he wanted to strangle with his own hands. But Lu Xiaozhong suddenly made such a move, and Bao Zhuoyang really didn't know how to refute for a moment. Everyone was an expert at the great perfection of the nascent soul stage and in terms of strength except for Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, who were recognized as super geniuses in the academy, they were basically on par. The position of captain could only fall on Lin Yi, who had the greatest background. Bao Zhuoyang gave Su Kexing a surreptitious look, signaling him to think of a way to smooth things over. No matter what, they couldn't let Lin Yi take advantage of this situation, or they'd really go for wool and come home shorn. Su Kexing nodded knowingly, his eyes turning slightly as he stood up. All right, we'll support Master Lin as captain. Everyone couldn't help but look at each other. Bao Zuoyang almost fainted on the spot when he heard that. Su Kexing was his most trusted follower, and he had never made a mistake before. Why did he suddenly betray him and become a traitor at this critical moment? Bao Zuoyang was about to curse out loud when he saw Su Kexing giving him a look. He suspiciously snuck up behind him, wanting to hear what this kid was going to do. Master Bao, it doesn't matter who the captain is. Let's not cause any unnecessary trouble for now. As long as we can go in together, we'll be able to kill Lin Yi with the lightning-attracting banner. When he's finished, we'll take care of Lu Xiaozhong as well. It'll be a piece of cake. Su Kexing explained quietly. And what you said makes sense. Let's do it this way. Bao Zuoyang thought about it and nodded. This was a choice, they had no other choice. Although it would be best if they could snatch the captain title, as Su Kexing said, even if they couldn't, it wouldn't affect the overall situation. The most important thing right now was not to separate from Lin Yi, or else it would be useless even if they had the lightning-attracting banner. This was the only way they could proceed according to their plan. Other than that, everything else had to be put aside. Lin Yi frowned slightly when he saw the two of them winking at each other. Although the two of them had carefully used their divine sense to block their voices, Lin Yi's intuition told Lin Yi that there must be a conspiracy between the two of them. They must be up to no good. At the nascent soul stage, although the divine sense couldn't even be considered a beginner, some of the most basic applications were very common, just like the little trick the two of them used to block their voices. Chapter 4866. Rather than alerting the enemy, it was better to pretend that they didn't know anything. As long as they remained vigilant, they'd see what these two were up to. Alright, since you've said so, I have no objections. Let Master Lin be the leader, Bao Zuoyang said immediately. Everyone was in an uproar. This guy clearly wanted to do it himself, but wasn't his attitude changing a little too quickly? But no matter what, the matter regarding the leader was settled. Since Lu Xiaozhong, Bao Zuoyang, and Su Kexing had all unanimously approved of Lin Yi, and Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao were close to Lin Yi, it could be said that all the important people present had expressed their opinions, and the opinions of others didn't matter. In reality, even if the others had opinions, they could only keep it to themselves. From today onwards, Lin Yi was the leader of the Morning Star Squad. For the next 2 days, everyone stayed on the ship peacefully. Lin Yi thought that Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing would find a chance to cause trouble, but they didn't do anything at all. It was as if they'd accepted the fact that he was the leader. Not only did they not cause trouble, but they were also very respectful to him. What the hell are these two doing? Lin Yi couldn't help but wonder. He wasn't naive enough to think that these two had really accepted their fate. Not causing trouble now could only mean one thing: these two must have a bigger plan in the future, which was why they were so tolerant. Any possible danger had to be nipped in the bud as soon as possible. This was the operating principle of all assassins. It was a pity that Lin Yi couldn't make trouble out of nothing and attack these two rashly. He could only take it one step at a time, be careful, and remain vigilant. 2 days later, the sound of a horn suddenly came from the distance of the pier. Not long after, Chancellor Qin Shing appeared in front of everyone and ordered, "All right, the path of a tycoon is about to begin. Everyone gather and disembark." Yes. Everyone was instantly excited, and they immediately followed behind Lin Yi, the leader. They spontaneously lined up in an orderly manner, and their every movement was somewhat disciplined. This situation caused Chancellor Qin Shing to be stunned. All of them were proud and arrogant geniuses. Even a high-ranking official like him could only force them to obey orders. It was almost unimaginable for them to obey the rules like this. After asking in a low voice, Chancellor Qin Shing finally understood the whole story. He couldn't help but give a thumbs up to Lin Yi. If everyone could maintain the same pace in the next trial, then no matter if it was self-protection or breakthrough, they would all benefit. Maybe there would really be a few more profound ascending stage masters in this trial. Under the guidance of the Morning Star Chancellor, Lin Yi brought everyone to the square at the pier, and sat down cross-legged in the area marked with the words Morning Star Academy, quietly waiting for the tyrant's path to begin. Not far ahead was a high platform with a row of seats arranged neatly on it. At this time, many of the higher-ups from the various academies had already taken their seats. Everyone was discussing in private about which of them was the legendary president of the alliance. However, Lin Yi's mind was not on this. From the start, he had been looking for the Morning Pride Academy's team, trying to find Hui Yudi's figure. Unfortunately, in the end, his wish was not fulfilled. There were unexpectedly many people present, especially since there were many tyrants here. Lin Yi did not dare to casually release his divine sense to sweep around. If he angered one of the tyrants, he would be seriously injured with just a slight thought. Moreover, it was the most basic rule of the cultivation world that one could not casually release one's divine sense in public. Since he could not use his divine sense, he could only rely on his naked eyes. However, perhaps because of the hostile relationship between Qin Xing and Qin Jiao, they arranged for them to be extremely far apart from each other. Unless Lin Yi walked to the high platform and chose a good angle, it would be impossible to find someone through the gaps between so many academy disciples. After a while, all the academy disciples were in position, and the higher-ups of the various academies had also taken their seats. At this time, a young man suddenly appeared in the center of the high platform, causing everyone's expression to turn solemn, not daring to speak. Everyone was sizing up this young man, and naturally, Lin Yi was no exception. Although this person looked young and his body did not release any terrifying aura, everyone knew that there was only one person on the stage at this time, and that was the legendary Alliance president. Lin Yi, Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao looked at each other, their faces filled with astonishment. They had thought that the Alliance president would be an old man with a sage-like demeanor like Ling Yuanqing, but they did not expect him to have such a young and handsome face. However, this was not too far-fetched. Once a practitioner reached sky rank, they would be able to maintain their appearance forever. As long as they wanted to, they could live for hundreds or thousands of years and maintain their appearance when they reached sky rank. However, it was very common in the world of practitioners that women still looked beautiful, and men still looked dignified. Even after reaching sky rank, most male practitioners would not deliberately stop their appearance from aging, and would instead maintain a dignified appearance of a middle-aged or old man. After all, an old monster that was hundreds of years old wanted to keep a young face that looked like a 20-year-old after all. This was something that people did not know what to say. But it was clear that this Alliance president was an exception. He was one of those few people. Almost all the disciples on the stage looked at each other, but no one dared to make the slightest sound. The person on the stage was the legendary Earth-opening stage or even Sea-splitting stage. Even if he did not reveal any of his aura, just this name alone was enough to oppress everyone to the point that they could not breathe. The Alliance president slowly swept his gaze across the audience until some of the disciples could not take it anymore. Finally, he slowly opened his mouth and said, "Everyone here are the elites from the various academies, and we are here for one thing, and that is to break through to profound ascension. Although this trial does not prohibit private fights, I hope that you all can distinguish your priorities. Also, you better not have the laughable thought that if you fail this time, there will be a next time. Because based on past experience, if you fail to break through to profound ascension the first time, the second time will be 10 times harder, and the third time will be 100 times harder. Think about it carefully." When everyone heard this, they suddenly felt suffocated. In fact, among all the students present, there were indeed some who came for the second or third time. For example, there was one from the Morning Star Academy this time, and it was a taciturn middle-aged man. Chapter 4867. If the first time didn't work, there would be a second time. If the second time didn't work, there would be a third time. This was indeed the mentality that everyone had, especially those who had the Shen Thunder Core. Even if they failed this time, they would still be able to guarantee their lives. This mentality was the most obvious. However, the words of the Alliance's leader completely dispelled their fantasies. If they failed the first time, would there still be a chance of success when the second time was 10 times more difficult? Not to say that there was absolutely no chance, but it was absolutely rare. As for whether the words of the Alliance's leader were true or not, just look at the people who had been here before. The first failure had already left a shadow in their hearts. If they tried to attack the Shen Ascension realm again with such a lifeless look, how much chance of success would they have? 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000? Looking at everyone's nervousness and fear, the young Alliance's leader on the stage silently smiled. If someone dared to stare at him like Lin Yi did, they would find that his face was filled with disdain and contempt. It was completely like looking at an ant. With his strength, these perfected nascent soul cultivators were indeed insignificant ants in his eyes. Especially when these ants didn't even have the resolve to cut off all means of retreat. Apart from disdain, it was very difficult for him to have a second expression. Disdain was disdain, but as the Alliance's leader, he had to at least finish the rules patiently. After you enter the path of giants, the only thing you need to do is to find a suitable place to go into seclusion. As long as you use all your strength, you will naturally be able to attract the lightning tribulation. As for the lightning tribulation points inside, they have already been marked. The Alliance's leader said lightly. Lightning tribulation point? Lin Yi was slightly stunned, but then he understood. Even the path of giants could not attract lightning tribulation at any place. The so-called lightning tribulation point was probably a place that was relatively easy to attract lightning tribulation. From the perspective of the secular world, to put it bluntly, it was a place that was more likely to be struck by lightning. Of course, those lightning tribulation points can't have an effect on all of them. After all, they were marked tens of thousands of years ago, and some of them have already lost their effectiveness. However, each lightning tribulation point has a protective formation. As long as you are in the formation, you can attract the lightning tribulation with peace of mind. You don't need to worry about the outside world taking advantage of the opportunity. The Alliance's leader continued. After all, everyone had a few enemies. After all, it was already very difficult to deal with the lightning tribulation. It was already very difficult to break through the Shen Ascension realm. If they had to be constantly on guard against sneak attacks, it was estimated that not many people would be able to survive. Fortunately, the Alliance's consideration was thorough. However, many people already knew about this. Needless to say, those who had participated in the Path of Giants before, and some who knew the previous batch of students would naturally inquire about these key details. Breaking through the Shen Ascension realm is your top priority. However, it's rare for you to come to the Path of Giants. If you have the leisure, you might as well take a stroll around inside. The treasures inside are famous throughout the entire Eastern continent. However, there are many dangers inside. At the same time, you have to guard against the attacks of the new Shen Ascension realm disciples. Therefore, I advise you to stop before you go too far. If you think it's about time, then hurry up and come out. Greed will only make you die faster. The Alliance's leader said casually. As for those who failed to break through to the Shen Ascension realm, he didn't say anything. Everyone knew that there was no need to care about them. Because those who failed to break through to the Shen Ascension realm, even if they barely survived, they would be half dead. These people didn't even have the ability to protect themselves, let alone deal with others. Hearing the words heavenly treasures, the group of students instinctively became excited. Wealth, companionship, method, and location. For cultivators like them, wealth was the most important thing. Of course, this did not only refer to spiritual jades, but also to those heavenly treasures that could not be bought. However, anyone with a little bit of brain knew that if they wanted to search for treasures here, there was a minimum prerequisite, and that was to successfully break through to the Shen Ascension realm. Otherwise, even if they were at their peak, they might not be able to cope with the various dangers inside, especially those Shen Ascension realm masters. Even if you were lucky enough to get something good, it would be useless. As the Alliance's leader said, you would only die faster. One more thing, this trial has a time limit. The maximum time you can stay here is 3 months. Whether you succeed or not, 3 months is definitely a foregone conclusion. No matter how long you delay, it will only be a waste of time. Of course, you can also come out after 3 months, but the battleships and treasure ships of the various academies will not stay and wait for you. At that time, the entire dock will be under martial law. You can either find a way to fly back or stay here and wait for death. The Alliance's leader glanced at everyone. Everyone looked at each other indifferently. Although it sounded quite serious, it was actually not a big deal to be left here. At worst, they could just cultivate while waiting for the next trial. Who knows, they might even be able to take the opportunity to obtain some heavenly treasures. Of course, this little thought did not escape the eyes of the person on the stage. The Alliance's leader smiled, and the corner of his mouth curved into a mocking smile. If you have any ideas, you can stay. But don't blame me for not reminding you, Thunder Plain Island has a routine thunder burial every year. If you don't want to live long, you can experience it. Thunder burial? Everyone looked at each other in confusion. As the name suggests, it is to bury the entire island with the world-extinguishing thunder. Unless you can escape from the thunder burial like the native creatures, otherwise, you will not be able to wait until the next trial begins. The Alliance's leader said lightly. Everyone was shocked, and the little bit of luck that they had just had was immediately thrown to the back of their minds. This place was full of danger, and it was really not a place to play tricks. Alright, each academy will line up according to the order in which they drew lots. Let's start the teleportation. After saying this, the Alliance's leader disappeared from the high platform without a trace. Since the first thing to do in the trial was to find the Thunder Tribulation Point to break through to the Profound Ascension realm, then it would naturally lead to a situation where everyone would fight for the Thunder Tribulation Point as soon as they entered. No one knew how many Thunder Tribulation Points there were in the Path of the Giants, but just by looking at the number of people present, it was clear that the possibility of everyone having one or even having extra was really not big. In this way, who would go first and who would go last was a big problem. The academy that entered first would definitely have an advantage. If this problem could not be solved properly, then there was no need to enter the path of the giants. The academy disciples would probably fight here at the dock. Chapter 48-68. It all depended on luck. With the unfathomable president of the alliance personally overseeing things, there was no one present who could cheat under his watch, unless he was the one who cheated. A group of academy disciples lined up. The Morningstar Academy's luck was not too good, but it was not too bad either. They were in the middle of the pack. The teleportation formation here was different from that of the West Islands trial. The West Islands trial could only teleport one person at a time, while the teleportation formation here could teleport dozens of people at a time. Hence the speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it was Lin Yi's turn. This place was guarded by full-time guards. Chancellor Qin Xing, who was at the side, handed over the name list of the disciples for the guards to check in front of everyone. The others were fine, but one name shocked Lin Yi. Qin Yu. Although he was a Morningstar captain, everyone knew that it was a temporary position. Lin Yi did not pay attention to who was in the group, since he did not know them. But what was up with Qin Yu? When Lin Yi first arrived at Morningstar Academy, he was concerned about Jiang Hahai, so he asked Wang Xinyan to ask about his fiancée. In the end, he found out that she had been in seclusion recently, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Who would have thought that Qin Yu would suddenly appear in the group? But according to Jiang Hahai, shouldn't she still be in the gold core stage in 10 years? Otherwise, why would Jiang Hahai spend so much effort to get her the Gathering Nascent Soul golden core? How could she become a peak Yuanying stage master now? Isn't this a bit too big? Or could it be that this Qin Yu was not that Qin Yu? Lin Yi was secretly surprised, but there were too many people here, so it was not appropriate for him to ask rashly. He could only suppress his curiosity and observe the situation. After all, even if it was really the same person, Jiang Hahai's golden pill of condensing nascent soul was no longer useful. After the teleportation, the scene before them changed abruptly. Everyone who came out from the teleportation array had ugly expressions on their faces. Truth be told, they didn't think it would matter much if they were in the middle. After all, as long as they weren't in the last few batches, they would be able to snatch a lightning tribulation point. Otherwise, the Academy's alliance wouldn't have arranged for so many people to enter. But now, everyone suddenly realized that they had been too naive. How was it not a big deal? Who came first and who came last was the most important. At first glance, this was a vast open space, but just like the terraced fields of the secular world, every position was uneven and uneven. Even though the position of the teleportation array could be considered the highest point, it was still impossible to see the whole thing at a glance. This was not just a problem with the terrain, but more importantly, the visibility was very poor and there was fog everywhere. The only thing that was not too bad was that the fog here was not like the sea, which did not have much of an impact on divine sense. But the problem was that everyone was not like a freak like Lin Yi. Even the strength of the Yuanying stage master's spiritual awareness was very limited. If they had to rely on their spiritual awareness to explore the road every step of the way, then they wouldn't be able to do anything at all. It was estimated that their primordial spirit would be exhausted and they would die. In this way, everyone could only rely on their memories to navigate the path of giants. Although cultivators had good memories, they should not get lost as long as they walked the path once. But in this place they could not see clearly what was going on. Once they walked too far, who knew if they would encounter any unexpected danger? The most important thing now was to find the Thunder Tribulation point to break through to the Profound Ascension stage. Before becoming a Profound Ascension expert, everyone did not dare to walk around casually. At this moment, the disciples from the other academies who had teleported in earlier had already started fighting over the lightning tribulation spots nearby. None of them wanted to take unnecessary risks. Since they could find the lightning tribulation spots nearby, they naturally wouldn't want to look for the spots that were far away. Everyone understood this. A group of Morningstar disciples saw the situation and wanted to join the battle, but they were stopped by Lin Yi. Don't worry, there are so many people here. Even if we go and fight, we won't be able to get a few and it will be a waste of chi. It's better to walk a little further and see. If we can find the Thunder Tribulation point, even if it is not completely empty, the competition will not be so fierce. He said this with a hidden selfishness. He wanted to walk around and see if he could be lucky enough to meet Hui Yudi. Of course, blocking the entrance to fight for the Thunder Tribulation point was a very stupid behavior. There were only a few Thunder Tribulation points nearby. With so many people fighting for it, even if they managed to get it, they would be half dead. How could they break through to the Profound Ascension stage? In fact, it was not only Lin Yi, but some other Academy disciples had made the same choice and avoided the crowd long ago to explore. Yes, Master Lin is right. Only a fool would stay here and fight with a group of mad dogs. Let's go to a farther place to look. Bao Zhuoyang was the first to jump out in support. Lin Yi could not help but look at him in surprise. Did this guy eat the wrong medicine? With the attitude and character he had shown before, it was already unprecedented for him not to cause trouble, but he actually supported him instead. Little did he know that Bao Zhuoyang was simply selfish. He could not wait for Lin Yi to bring his people further away. The more remote the better. That way he would not have to worry about being seen through. We will listen to Master Lin. Although Lu Xiaozhong was also curious about Bao Zhuoyang's reaction, he still agreed. The others also had no objections. Immediately Lin Yi led the way to explore further away. This process was a little risky and everyone could not help but feel a little anxious. However, Lin Yi was very calm. After all, with the strength of his divine sense that far surpassed ordinary people, it was enough to clearly perceive the situation in the distance. There was no need to worry at all. Lin Yi walked in the front, Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao followed closely behind, followed by Lu Xiaozhong, and then Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing. These two followed very closely, afraid that they would lose Lin Yi. However, as they moved forward, Lin Yi discovered something strange. Qin Yu, who was at the back, was strangely close to the two male disciples. The three of them stuck together, and when the people in front were not paying attention, they would occasionally make some very ambiguous movements, thinking that no one would notice. Little did they know that Lin Yi's divine sense was covering the entire area, and no one's movements could escape his senses. This unexpected discovery made Lin Yi surprised and suspicious. Just now he had already asked Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao in a low voice. There were not many female disciples in the Morning Star Academy, and even if they did not know each other, they had at least heard of their names. There was only one female disciple called Qin Yu, which meant that this person was undoubtedly Jiang Hehai's fiancée. Since that was the case, any girl who was engaged, as long as she was a bit more disciplined, would not mess around with other men. However, this scene in front of him was very clear to Lin Yi. Chapter 4869. Lin Yi could not help but feel strange. Could it be that this Qin Yu was the same as Situ Qian, a naturally fickle vixen? If not for the fact that he had so many people with him, Lin Yi would have gone up to ask her. Even if he did not know what would happen next, he would at least be able to send a message to Jiang Hehai to let him give up as soon as possible. But now was definitely not the right time, so he could only suppress his suspicions. Right now, Lin Yi had to fulfill his duty as the team leader, and lead everyone to the lightning calamity points. Everyone silently searched for the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. Along the way they found a few lightning calamity points, but they were all taken by others. In front of them they could still vaguely see a large group of people. If this continued, even if they found another lightning calamity point, it would definitely not be their turn to pick it up. If we continue to walk along the main road, it will probably be too much. How about this? Let's take a small detour and not always follow behind others. Lin Yi suggested. Everyone hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded their heads in agreement. Walking along the main road was definitely safer, but if they continued like this, they would not be able to snatch the lightning calamity points. In order to break through to the profound ascension realm as soon as possible, it was necessary to take some risks. With Lin Yi and the others taking the lead, the disciples from the other academies also followed suit. But there were not many of them, and most of them still insisted on exploring along the main road. Very quickly Lin Yi's suggestion yielded results. Everyone finally found a row of 4 empty lightning calamity points, and were immediately overjoyed, all of them eager to give it a try. Luckily they did not forget the existence of the team leader, Lin Yi. No one was an idiot. Although they were envious, if they went around Lin Yi and rashly tried to snatch the lightning calamity points, they would very likely become the target of everyone. At that time, even if everyone was from the same Morning Star Academy, they would not be merciful. If any of you want to stay, then stay. The rest do not fight, follow me and continue to search. It seems like it will not be difficult to find other lightning calamity points, it will definitely not be a problem. Lin Yi turned his head and said to everyone. Everyone was stunned. According to the rule of the strong, they thought that Lin Yi would be the first to take it. They didn't expect this temporary team leader to be so generous. But even so, no one dared to fight for it. If Lin Yi didn't want it, then they'd have to ask Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao. After all, the two of them were almost invincible among their peers. Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, of course, wouldn't stay behind. They had to accompany Lin Yi, and it wasn't just them. Even Lu Xiaozhong expressed that he wanted to follow Lin Yi. This was an order from his old man Lu Dechang. He had to follow Lin Yi closely during the trial. Only then would he be able to survive and reap the benefits. It could only be said that Lu Dechang was indeed a scoundrel. After seeing that Lin Yi had potential, he let his son follow him like a scoundrel. This method was simple and crude, but it was extremely effective. This wasn't strange. What made Lin Yi speechless was that even Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing didn't fight for it. Instead, they chose to follow him. Otherwise, with their background and strength, the other Morning Star disciples wouldn't be able to compete with them. The few important figures weren't interested, but the other Morning Star disciples weren't stupid. They immediately began to fight for it. However, with Lin Yi and the rest watching, they didn't dare to fight. They could only stop and see who reached the lightning calamity point first. Lin Yi continued to lead the team forward. He paid some attention and discovered that Qin Yu and the two male disciples hadn't managed to snatch any lightning calamity points, so he could only follow them. Lin Yi originally thought that the lightning calamity points were randomly distributed, and that the chances of taking the main road and the small road were the same. It was just that the chances of encountering unexpected dangers were higher when taking the small road. Just now they had encountered 4 lightning calamity points at once. However, after an hour he realized that he was wrong. They hadn't encountered a single lightning calamity point since then. Everyone couldn't help but feel a little restless. Judging from this situation, most of the lightning calamity points should be distributed around the main road. No wonder there were so few disciples from the other academies following them. They must have asked around beforehand. Since that's the case, let's go back and take a look. Anyway, we have 3 whole months. Everyone, don't be impatient. Lin Yi smiled faintly as he led the group back to the main road. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't have dared to travel as casually as Lin Yi did unless they went back the way they came, but it wasn't a problem for Lin Yi. Returning to the main road, there were indeed many more lightning calamity points along the way. However, just like before, these lightning calamity points had already been taken by others. Fortunately, everyone was mentally prepared for this situation, and they weren't too affected. Otherwise, seeing all the lightning calamity points along the way being taken by others would be the same as going to the toilet but not being able to get a seat. It would definitely be a heart attack. Wait. Lin Yi suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Wang Xinyan hurriedly asked. The others all tensed up, thinking that they had encountered some kind of danger. Don't be nervous. There's something interesting up ahead. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. Something interesting? Everyone was surprised. Only now did they realize that there were many people in the distance, and from time to time, there would be a commotion. It seemed that there were quite a lot of people gathered there. Lin Yi led everyone forward. In order to avoid any accidents, they didn't get too close. They stopped when they were about 10 meters away so that they wouldn't get involved in any trouble. In front of them, all sorts of quarrels could be heard. Although they hadn't started fighting yet, the atmosphere was very tense. If it continued to develop, it would be unavoidable. At this moment, other than Lin Yi's group, there were a few other people who were watching the scene. From their whispers, they quickly understood the situation. It turned out that the students of the 2 academies were fighting for territory, and the source of this conflict was a large number of lightning calamity points. Roughly estimating, there were at least 50 lightning calamity points, enough to accommodate all the students of the academy. This discovery made everyone's eyes turn red. If they could take all the lightning calamity points, then there wouldn't be any trouble. If they continued to search like this, who knew if they could find more lightning calamity points? However, although they were envious, they did not dare to go up and fight with those 2 groups of people. The other side had a lot more people than them, and if they dared to interfere at this time, it would be tantamount to challenging both academies at the same time. When that time came, they could imagine the consequences even with their toes. Chapter 4870. No one was a fool. There was no need for such a meaningless feud. Although it was indeed difficult to find the lightning retribution points, as long as they continued to explore, there would always be lightning retribution points. At most, it wouldn't be as spectacular as the one in front of them. Lin Yi didn't want to watch the show. Although he wanted to stay and watch like the other onlookers, he might have a chance to pick up some scraps in the end. After all, once the 2 sides fought, it was very likely that both sides would suffer. However, rather than putting his hopes on others, Lin Yi preferred to hold the hope in his hands. But Lin Yi quickly changed his mind. When he scanned the crowd with his divine sense, he suddenly found a few familiar faces in the 2 groups of people in front of him. Although one of the women was masked, based on her figure and temperament, there was no doubt that it was Hui Yudi. He had been trying his best to find her, but to no avail. He didn't expect to find such a pleasant surprise now. Lin Yi carefully observed the situation of the two sides and realized that it wasn't a conflict between two academies. There were 3 academies in front of them, including Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy. Both academies were on the same side, fighting against the other academy together. It was actually 2 against 1. What surprised Lin Yi even more was that there were more than 70 people from Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy, but the number of people from this academy standing opposite them was no less than theirs. As everyone knew, nascent soul realm experts were the top elites of Golden Stage academies. The more people there were, the stronger they were. For Morningstar Academy to suddenly have more than 30 nascent soul realm experts, Lin Yi already felt that it was very exaggerated. If it was in the other Heaven Stage Islands, it would definitely be a huge force. Lin Yi even doubted that there were so many nascent soul realm experts in the 3 pavilions of the Northern Island. One had to know that nascent soul realm experts were already qualified to be elders. The strength of the 3 pavilions of the Northern Island could not be considered weak, but it was not to the point where nascent soul realm experts were everywhere. But this unknown academy suddenly had more than 70 nascent soul realm experts, which was double the number of ordinary academies. This strength was a bit too exaggerated. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi finally came to a realization. No wonder those spectators didn't even dare to take a step closer. Furthermore, they didn't dare to fish in troubled waters even though there were so many empty lightning tribulation spots. If they dared to sneak in, it would be equivalent to offending all 3 academies at the same time. It was true that the lightning tribulation point had a protective formation, but after that, once you were targeted by the 3 academies, so what if you succeeded in breaking through to the profound ascension realm? Those who fished in troubled waters would surely die a horrible death. What's wrong? Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao asked curiously when Lin Yi stopped walking again. The other Morning Star disciples behind them did not understand what was going on. They were all smart people and knew that it would be difficult to gain anything by waiting here. Taking advantage of the fact that so many people were crowding around to watch the show, it would be a wise move to take the lead. Which school are those guys fighting Skycloud and Morning Pride? Lin Yi asked. To make it easier to identify, the disciples who came here to participate in the trial did not wear the uniform of their respective academies, but they all had the insignia of their respective academies on their shoulders. However, there was no full name on it. Lin Yi only recognized the insignia of Morning Pride, Soaring Cloud, and Morning Star. I don't know either. Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao looked at each other and shook their heads. They had not been in the Eastern continent for a long time, and most of the time, they were focused on training with the divine nun of the Eastern Sea. They did not pay attention to the outside world. They knew a little about Morning Star Academy, but they did not know much about the other academies. I know that. Lu Xiaozhong, who was following closely behind the 3 of them, heard this, and hurriedly came over with an expression like he was presenting a treasure. I, Lu Xiaozhong, am too familiar with that academy's insignia. I've even fought someone from their academy before and it was on their home ground. Everyone turned to look at him. This guy was too strong, fighting in the home ground of another academy. He was lucky that he didn't die. That was a close call. Fortunately, my old Lu arrived in time and pulled me out from under the saber. Otherwise, I would have been dead. TSK. I'm scared just thinking about it. Lu Xiaozhong recalled excitedly. This time even Lin Yi couldn't help but roll his eyes. That excited expression on your face and you're calling that fear? You look like you want to do it again. You still haven't told me what school this is? Lin Yi asked again. Oh, they are disciples of the Leidong Academy. The academy's logo is very easy to recognize, it's just 3 lightning pillars. Idiots are just like those who deserve to be struck by lightning. The person who designed this logo must have been struck by lightning before, haha. Lu Xiaozhong said as he laughed to himself. Leidong Academy? Lin Yi was stunned for a moment, then he remembered that this place was called the Leidong Plain Island, and this sea was called the Leidong Sea. He asked, could it be that this is their home ground? Half. The Leidong City is in the Leidong Sea, not far from the Leidong Plain Island. It's the headquarters of the East Continent's Yellow Steppe Academy Alliance. It's one of the most important cities in the Yellow Steppe Sea, and the Leidong Academy is also one of the largest Yellow Steppe academies. Lu Xiaozhong explained. I see. Lin Yi nodded. No wonder they had the confidence to fight 2 against 1, it turned out to be one of the largest Yellow Steppe academies. They really had a strong foundation. Relying on their school's power, the idiots from the Leidong Academy are really overbearing. That time I followed old Lu to Leidong City to join in the fun, just to buy a condensed nascent soul golden pill, but they relied on their numbers to attack me. I little Lu am not afraid of that, so I fought with them on the spot. As a result, more and more people came and I almost died there. Lu Xiaozhong laughed. Everyone was speechless when they heard this. You fought with people in Leidong City, didn't they just increase their numbers? After all, any random passerby could be their friends or relatives. They attacked you just to buy a condensed nascent soul golden pill, aren't they a bit too overbearing? Lin Yi couldn't help but frown. He had heard that 6th and 7th grade pills could only be sold to the East Continent, but he had never heard that they could only be sold to the Academy itself. This kind of trade barrier was too overbearing. Chapter 4871. Isn't that so? That idiot from the Leidong Academy said he would buy it for 100,000 spirit jades. I, little Lu, thought that it would be fine as long as I bid higher than him, so I told the shopkeeper the price was 100,001. In the end, that idiot fought with me. He's so overbearing, he really needs to be taught a lesson. Lu Xiaozhong said indignantly. What the hell? Everyone covered their faces speechlessly, lamenting in their hearts that they were too naive to actually believe this guy's bullshit. Not to mention the disciples of the Leidong Academy, even if it was them, they would definitely fight this bastard. Lin Yi also looked at this guy, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. The other party offered 100,000 spirit jades. If you really want to compete, at least bid 110,000. 101,001, isn't this just asking for a beating? Like father like son, this sentence was not false at all. He might not be able to see anything else, but this Lu Xiaozhong definitely learned 110 from his father. Master Lin, those idiots from the Leidong Academy are bullying people again. Do you think we should also join in? Help the weak and eradicate the bully for the sake of the will of heaven. Lu Xiaozhong's eyes rolled around and encouraged. Lin Yi simply didn't want to pay attention to him. These words from his mouth, no matter how it sounded, however, even without Lu Xiaozhong's encouragement, because of Hui Yudi's presence, Lin Yi couldn't really ignore it. Of course, if it wasn't for Hui Yudi, Lin Yi definitely wouldn't choose to step into these muddy waters. Since the Leidong City was the main city of the Leidong Academy and also the headquarters of the Golden Step Academy Alliance, needless to say, the two must be inextricably linked. Once he offended the Leidong Academy, perhaps he would become the enemy of the entire Golden Step Academy Alliance. Although Lin Yi wasn't afraid of trouble, he would never take the initiative to pick a fight, especially when he knew that the other party was not to be trifled with. He was even more unwilling to inexplicably become enemies with the other party. In fact, even without considering the background of the other party, just the more than 70 masters of the Yuanying stage in front of him were enough to make him think twice. Although Lin Yi's current strength was enough to deal with the masters of the profound ascending stage, and some of the masters of the Yuanying stage did not even need to be in his eyes, but the number of people was also a strong deterrent. But now that both sides were at each other's throats, even if it was only for the sake of Hui Yudi's safety, Lin Yi absolutely could not ignore it. In any case, he had done things like provoking powerful enemies for the sake of a woman many times in the past, and he had long since gotten used to it. Master Lin, it's better to avoid trouble. Let's go, shall we? Bao Zuoyang glared at Lu Xiaozhong. That's right, the Leidong Academy is not to be trifled with. What's more, the Morning Pride Academy is our archenemy, we can't help them even if we want to. Let's hurry and find the lightning calamity point. Su Kexing agreed. The only thing the two of them wanted to do now was to quickly find the lightning calamity point, and then use the lightning banner to kill Lin Yi. Other than that, the two of them did not want to complicate matters. Bullshit, with your little guts, calling you cowards is already giving you a lot of credit. Even if you find the lightning calamity point, you're just goods that will be robbed. Why don't you just fight him here? Lu Xiaozhong squinted at the two of them with disdain. What did you say? Bao Zuoyang's anger rose again. If it was not for the fact that he wanted to use the lightning banner to kill Lin Yi, he would have strangled the bastard Lu Xiaozhong on the spot. Everyone could not help but look at each other. Nothing had happened yet and they were about to start fighting. If they really joined the battle, who knew who would kill them? All the eyes of the Morningstar Academy disciples fell on Lin Yi, waiting for him to make the final decision. Although they generally did not want to get involved in this mess, Lin Yi was after all the captain of the Morningstar Academy. I've decided to stay and take a look. Of course, if you have other plans, you can form your own team and explore ahead first. Lin Yi said after some thought. He could not force everyone's will just because of his own selfishness, so this was his only choice. Since Lin Yi had made his stand, Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao would definitely stay. Lu Xiaozhong, who was a busybody, was even more eager to stay. Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing, who had ulterior motives, naturally would not leave either. The remaining people were in a dilemma. Their original intention was to continue forward, but after losing Lin Yi, who was the strongest, it would be difficult for them to compete with the other academies even if they banded together. Moreover, they would not band together at all. They would only be unwilling to submit to each other, and in the end they would split up. What would happen after splitting up was obvious from the scene in front of them. Any lightning calamity point that was easy to find would definitely be snatched away by the academy teams that banded together. If the others wanted to pick up the leftovers, they could only rely on pure luck. In the end, none of the people from the Morning Star Academy left. They all stayed. Although this was because there was no strong person to take the lead, it had to be said that this group of people was very sensible. At least, there were no brainless idiots who overestimated themselves. Lin Yi stared at Hui Yudi in the crowd from afar. He could not help but feel a little excited. However, he did not plan to just walk up like this, as it was easy to be misunderstood. It was better to see the situation clearly first. Is there someone you know inside? Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, who were beside him, asked softly in surprise. They had always been more attentive, and Lin Yi's strange behavior naturally did not escape their eyes. Yes, Hui Yudi from the Morning Pride Academy. I told you about her. Lin Yi nodded. Really? Which one? The two women suddenly became interested. Both of them had heard about the trial in the West Island from Lin Yi. They were full of novelty and curiosity about Hui Yudi, a sister they had never met, and they were also a little grateful. After all, if she hadn't stayed by his side at that time, Lin Yi might have been dead. You'll know in a bit. Lin Yi was amused by their gossipy expressions. As soon as Lin Yi finished speaking, a long-haired man from the Thunder Academy group slowly walked out under everyone's gaze. From the respectful expressions of the Thunder Academy disciples, this person should be the leader. I've long heard that the Morning Pride Academy has beauties. Why don't you accompany us to sleep? If you're satisfied, I can make the decision to let you have this place. I heard that one of the three fairies, Hui Yudi, is also here. Which one is it? Why don't you come out and let us have a look? Let's see if you're really as good as the rumors say. Is it the masked one? This person casually teased. Chapter 4872. Lin Yi frowned as he looked at the man. There was something familiar about him, and it was similar to him in some ways, but it wasn't obvious. Good suggestion, Chief. I heard that the women of Dawn Pride Academy are all very tasteful. It's such a rare opportunity, it'd be a shame if we don't have some fun. We'll leave third goddess Hui Yudi to the chief, the rest can be divided among the rest. That's not enough, we have twice as many people as them, it'll have to be 2 against 1. I wonder if Chief would mind letting everyone have some fun with third goddess? Yeah, even though I can't see her face clearly, but her body is so hot. TSK, those legs, those breasts, that butt, it'll be a regret for the rest of my life if I miss it this time. Chief, you can't just keep it all to yourself. The group of people from the Leidong Academy were cursing and swearing incessantly, each and every one of them criticizing the female disciples of the Morning Pride Academy. Among them, Hui Yudi was naturally the focus of attention. After all, she was the third fairy. I've always been a generous person. If you want third goddess Wang Xinyan, you can have her, but you'll have to wait until I'm done playing. The leader of the group laughed without restraint. Shut up. If you want to fight, let's fight. Is this the only quality of the people from Leidong Academy? Hui Yudi was shaking with anger. For a pure girl like her to be teased by so many people in front of her, no matter how good her temperament was, she'd still be furious. If you want to fight, let's fight? Alright, I didn't think that the legendary third goddess would be so straightforward. Are you going to fight me in bed for 300 rounds? I like it, hee. The leader of the group stared at Hui Yudi and laughed. Hui Yudi was momentarily speechless. She was a traditional and conservative girl, so how could she deal with such vulgar words? It was just that there were too many people involved in this situation, so she couldn't act on her own. Otherwise, she would have rushed out to fight the other party. Hey, the chief of Leidong Academy, right? Junior sister Yudi is mine. No one is allowed to touch her. At this time, someone suddenly stood in front of Hui Yudi and blocked her. Lin Yi had thought that it was a hero who had jumped out to save the beauty, but when he took a closer look, he found that it was an old acquaintance, Ren Zhongyuan from the Soaring Cloud Academy. Not only Ren Zhongyuan, but Yi Xiaotian and Yao Jieli were also standing beside him. They were all familiar faces. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a little strange. He didn't find it strange that Yi Xiaotian and Yao Jieli came here. After all, this Road of Giants trial was a gathering of the elites of the various Golden Stage academies. As long as their strength reached the great perfection of the nascent soul realm, They would not easily let go of this opportunity to attack the profound ascension realm, but why did Ren Zhongyuan also come? Although his strength was at the peak of the nascent soul realm, because of the 5 elements killing qi in his body, he was now a useless person who couldn't use his mental cultivation method. Could it be that someone helped him to resolve it? Lin Yi quickly thought of Ren Tianxua. To be able to resolve his 5 elements killing qi, it seemed that this chief alchemist of the Soaring Cloud Academy was not an ordinary character. Who do you think you are? The leader of the Leidong Academy glanced at Ren Zhongyuan, and the contempt on his face was obvious. What a big tone. The name of the chief of the Leidong Academy sounds very scary, but we are all at the peak of the nascent soul realm. I really don't think you have anything to be afraid of. If you want to touch junior sister Yudi, you have to ask me first. Ren Zhongyuan was very unyielding. In fact, as long as he was in front of Hui Yudi, he had always performed perfectly. He had the strength and he had the bearing. Even if he didn't have it, he had to pretend to be decent so that he could win the heart of the beauty. Is that so? Then I will do as you wish. The corner of the man's mouth curled up into a mocking smile, and the other disciples of the Leidong Academy revealed an expression of watching a good show. He gently raised a palm and then casually slapped it like a fly. Bang! Ren Zhongyuan didn't even have time to react, and his whole body was directly sent flying, heavily smashing into the stone wall in the distance, unable to move. Not only the right side of his face but his whole body was paralyzed on the spot. Good. The disciples of the Leidong Academy immediately cheered, while the disciples of the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy were scared to the point that their faces turned pale. This scene happened too suddenly. Ren Zhongyuan was already considered a first-class existence among them, but in the end he was easily slapped away by the opponent. Was this guy really at the peak of the nascent soul realm? Originally, because they were equal in number, the disciples of the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy could still confront each other with an imposing manner. However, after this scene, everyone was immediately scared witless, and subconsciously retreated, suddenly losing the will to compete with the Leidong Academy. Fear before the battle, this was the description of this group of people. Ha ha, do you really think that since we are both at the peak of the nascent soul realm, you can act in front of me? The head of the Leidong Academy glanced at Ren Zhongyuan, who didn't know whether he was dead or alive, then looked at the crowd disdainfully and said, "You better listen to me clearly, I am recognized as the #1 in the nascent soul realm. Not to mention you trash at the peak of the nascent soul realm, even if it was a profound ascending stage expert, I have killed more than 1 or 2. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was shocked. Not only the disciples of the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy who were standing in front of him were trembling with fear, even the surrounding crowd subconsciously took a few steps back. He was clearly only at the peak of the nascent soul realm, but he was able to kill a profound ascending stage expert. This kind of thing was only a legend even in the Eastern Continent Academy, but this person from the Leidong Academy didn't seem to be joking at all. With his amazing performance of slapping away Ren Zhongyuan just now, maybe he really had this strength. I remember. This person is the head of the Leidong Academy, Wang Dianxing, the #1 in the nascent soul realm in the Leidong Academy in recent years. At this time, someone in the crowd finally recognized the head of the Leidong Academy. Wang Dianxing? The legendary perfect nascent soul realm expert? After being reminded like this, the others finally reacted. That's right, this guy used to be the strongest newcomer in the Leidong Academy. I didn't expect him to sit in the head seat now. It's not as simple as being the head. You guys are really ignorant. I heard that after he reached the peak of the nascent soul realm, his strength was already comparable to a profound ascending stage expert, and could even compete with a profound ascending stage expert. After all, he is the legendary perfect nascent soul realm. There is not even 1 in 10,000, a genius among geniuses. Chapter 4873. He was a legendary perfect nascent soul stage master. Only those profound ascending stage cultivators were his opponents. Ordinary peak nascent soul stage cultivators like him were nothing in his eyes. Lin Yi looked at Wang Dianxing thoughtfully. No wonder he had a familiar feeling he was also a perfect nascent soul cultivator. However, compared to himself and Huang Xiaotao, this guy was obviously a lot weaker. After all, the so-called perfect nascent soul was just a small sip of star ink milk when condensing the nascent soul. At most, it could only be regarded as a fake perfect nascent soul. In the whole world, probably only Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao could be so extravagant as to use star ink milk to bathe. Only this could be considered a true perfect nascent soul. How about it? Does anyone else want to be a hero and save the damsel in distress? Wang Dianxing's aura alone had impressively overshadowed all the disciples of Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy. Looking at Ren Zhongyuan's fate and hearing all kinds of legends about him, although this group of people had a lot of people at this moment, they had completely lost the will to fight him. Just a moment ago it was a group of wolves, now it was just a group of sheep trembling in front of a lion. Seems like there's no one else. No matter what, our Leidong Academy is also one of the top academies in the Golden Stage Alliance. I also don't want the academy to carry the bad name of bullying the weak. With your little strength, fighting us is just courting death. Wang Dianxing coldly looked at everyone and said. No one dared to refute because this was the truth. Although the number of people was about the same, with him as the #1 nascent soul stage cultivator, the Leidong Academy was definitely like a wolf and a tiger. Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy could only be one-sidedly trampled. I'll give you two choices now. You can either sleep with us as long as you make us feel comfortable. After we break through to the profound ascension stage, we will naturally give you these thunder calamity points. If you don't agree, then there's only the second choice, get out of here. Wang Dianxing sneered. When he said this, he stared at Hui Yudi with a burning gaze. The veil only gave people a sense of mystery. He couldn't wait to take it off himself and admire the beauty of this third fairy. Putting aside that domineering tone, Wang Dianxing's words made Lin Yi feel rather strange. Even if he didn't sleep with them, as long as he waited patiently nearby, and waited for the people of Lei Dong Academy to finish their profound ascension, then went in, wouldn't it be the same? What was the point of his threat? Not only Lin Yi but the others also had the same doubts. They couldn't help but look at each other in confusion. Hey, this is your first time here, right? I've already been here twice and I know the situation here like the back of my hand. Under normal circumstances, it would take at most 10 days to half a month to break through to the profound ascension realm, and 20 days is the limit. Once it exceeds this time, it's impossible. No matter how long it takes, it's meaningless. One of the older disciples shook his head. Isn't that good? If 20 days is counted as one batch, 3 months is enough for 4 batches of people to come. Can't we just wait a little? Why do we need to be threatened like this? Everyone asked in confusion. That's normal, but these positions here are all good positions. In previous years they have successfully attracted the thunder tribulation. If they succeed, they won't easily give it up. If you want these positions, you can only buy them at a high price, otherwise they will guard them and not let anyone in. The spectating disciple smiled bitterly. That's too much. Everyone couldn't help but be filled with righteous indignation. The original intention of the Road of Giants was to produce more profound ascension experts, but these people's actions were completely the opposite. They actually used the thunder tribulation points for profit. It was really despicable and shameless. But it can't be that all of them will succeed, right? Someone couldn't help but ask. The difficulty of breaking through to the profound ascension realm was much greater than condensing the nascent soul. When condensing the nascent soul, one could use the condensed soul golden pill to help break through the barrier, but it was not possible to break through to the profound ascension realm. The thunder Shen pill was only used to protect one's life under the thunder tribulation. Everything else could only be done by oneself, especially to fuse 2 kinds of spiritual roots together. This was something that had never been done before. The difficulty could be imagined. According to the data given by the Golden Stage Academy Alliance, the best result of the Road of Giants in the past was only 30%. In other words, even these academy elites who were praised as the pride of the heavens, who had all kinds of favorable conditions that ordinary people couldn't reach, only 3 out of 10 people could succeed in breaking through. This was already the historical limit. If they didn't perform well, it was normal for not even 1 out of 10 to survive. Even they were like this, it was even more difficult for those who couldn't enter the academy. The profound ascension realm was the highest realm in the entire heavenly Tao realm, and it was also a wonderful fantasy for them. Only the geniuses among the geniuses could set foot in it, others could only dream about it. That's right, it's fine if it's a profound ascension realm master who successfully broke through, but if it's the kind that failed to break through, it's already good enough to save his life. How can he stop the people waiting outside? In order to break through to the profound ascension realm, he must be in his peak state. Someone also disagreed. Everyone is also a nascent soul realm master. One is exhausted and seriously injured, but the other is in his peak state and full of energy. What can he use to stop them? I think he should instead pay a high price to buy his life. Someone agreed. Hey, you guys haven't properly understood the Thunder Academy, right? The older-looking disciple shook his head again and again, curled his lips and said, Do you know what the nickname of the Thunder Academy is? What? Everyone was confused. Wolf Academy. As the name implies, the disciples of the Thunder Academy are a group of wolves. Not only are they overbearing and unreasonable, but they are also very united. As long as something falls into their hands, it's impossible for them to give it away. The Thunder retribution points here are the same, no matter if they succeed or not, they will always group together, guarded by everyone, and then sell it to others. The highest price wins. The older-looking disciple smiled bitterly. It seemed like he had suffered this loss before. So damn evil. At that time they will be guarded by a group of profound Ascension Realm Masters. Then what's the point? If you want Thunder retribution points, you can only obediently send yourself to their door to be slaughtered. Everyone suddenly felt a chill in their hearts. Many of them had this idea, otherwise they wouldn't have been blocking here to watch the show, but now it seemed that it was impossible not to bleed. Chapter 4874. As a result, the crowd immediately responded. There were many people who had been bullied by the people from the Leidong Academy. Lin Yi and the others looked at Lu Xiaozhong beside them and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This guy really wanted the world to be in chaos. That shout just now was from him, otherwise so many onlookers would not suddenly become united against a common enemy. The commotion of the crowd naturally did not escape the eyes of the people from the Leidong Academy, but they all had a carefree look, and did not put the hostility of the crowd in their eyes at all. There were many people who had made enemies with their Leidong Academy, and they simply disdained to pay attention to this group of people who only knew how to gossip. At the same time, Wang Dianxing had already walked alone into the camp of the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy. In front of him alone, so many Yuanying stage experts could only retreat step by step, and not even one dared to stand up. It was really sad and lamentable. Ren Zhongyuan's example was right in front of them, and even now he still didn't know whether he was dead or alive. Who would dare to provoke the head of the Leidong Academy again? In front of everyone, Wang Dianxing directly swaggered in front of Hui Yudi, and reached out to take off her veil with an evil smile. Fairy Hua, now that things have come to this, I believe there is no need to choose? This is not only related to your own major event, but also related to the major event of all the disciples of your two academies. There is no point in pretending to be reserved. I heard that your Morning Pride Academy has the most women. Isn't it just serving men? You should already be familiar with it, right? Ah. Hui Yudi was the only one among the crowd who did not retreat, and dodged the other's hand. At this moment she was already trembling with anger. Even if she knew that her strength was not as good as the other party, she was still ready to make a move. There were so many people from the two academies together, but they were still not as courageous as Hui Yudi, a girl. Thinking about it, people really didn't know what to say. But then again, the Morning Pride Academy was all female, and although the Soaring Cloud Academy was mainly male, this time the leader was Ren Zhongyuan, Yi Xiaotian. These kinds of trash. Counting on them to fight against Wang Dianxing and the Leidong Academy was more reliable than counting on Asao to climb a tree. If Lung Rufin was here it would be fine, but unfortunately he was already a profound ascending stage master and would not come to this kind of place. Even Yang Qianxue, who had been beaten down to the peak of Yuanying realm, was not here, because her two kinds of spiritual root attributes had already merged, and if she wanted to return to the profound ascension realm, she didn't need to be as complicated as everyone else. She could trigger the thunder tribulation anywhere. At most she just needed to prepare a thunder shen pill in case of accidents, and if everything went well she didn't even need the thunder tribulation. Wang Dianxing saw through Hui Yudi's plan and immediately laughed unscrupulously. Yo, I didn't expect you to be such an unyielding woman. That's just what I like. If you were a slut like other women, I wouldn't be satisfied if you just curled your finger and pounced on me. The more you resist, the happier I am, haha. Hui Yudi would not talk nonsense with this guy with a mouth full of filthy words. She immediately gathered her true chi and was about to make a move. Even if it was for the benefit of so many academy disciples, she would never compromise. After all, it was related to her most valued reputation. Moreover, she had already seen through it. Even if they really compromised, the other party might not really give up the thunder tribulation point at that time. The most likely outcome would be to draw water with a wicker basket, and be played by others for nothing. Come on, hit as hard as you can. Don't worry, I won't slap you away like I did to that fool just now. I will only love you. Wang Dianxing teased with a frivolous face, and continued to reach out to touch Hui Yudi's face. Hui Yudi's strength was not in his eyes at all. To be more precise, he never put any Yuanying realm master in his eyes, because he was recognized as the #1 Yuanying realm master. The situation was on the verge of exploding, and at this moment, a person suddenly walked in from the crowd and slowly said, "All right, don't talk nonsense here. I have taken a fancy to this place. If you know what's good for you, get out of here or die." Along with the voice, this person calmly walked in front of Hui Yudi, and looked at Wang Dianxing with a relaxed face, that was called the wind and clouds. Although Hui Yudi only looked at his back, she recognized him at a glance, and was immediately surprised and happy to shout out, but after seeing Lin Yi's subtle gesture behind his back, she quickly swallowed the words that were about to escape her mouth. Not only Hui Yudi but Yi Xiaotian, Yao Jelly, and the others also recognized him, and each of them turned pale with fright, not knowing what to say for a long time. What did you just say? I didn't hear it clearly, do you want to say it again? Wang Dianxing rubbed his ears while looking at Lin Yi in surprise, thinking that he had been distracted for a moment, and with the example of Ren Zhongyuan, he really did not believe that anyone would dare to provoke him in public. After all this time, you're a cripple and you're still the first seat of the Leidong Academy, the handicapped seat, right? Lin Yi squinted at him and curled his lips. The crowd immediately went into an uproar. Everyone thought that Wang Dianxing would definitely win over Hui Yudi, and everyone wanted to take the opportunity to admire the beauty of the legendary third fairy. Who would have thought that such a thorn would suddenly appear? The others were shocked, but the Morningstar students were even more shocked. Lu Xiaozhong, who'd been unhappy with Leidong for a long time, was gesticulating with joy, while the rest of the Morningstar students looked as if they were in deep trouble. Lin Yi was their temporary captain, and this wasn't just bad luck for him, but it was bad for them as well. Everyone's hearts were full of regret. He had been very calm the whole time. How did he suddenly become like this? If they had known earlier, they would not have agreed to let this guy be the captain even if they died. Only Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaodao's expressions were relatively calm. They knew the relationship between Lin Yi and Hui Yudi, and if Lin Yi still did not make a move at this time, then it would be really strange. On the other hand, Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing both had a conflicted expression. Lin Yi was looking for death, and took the initiative to provoke a strong enemy like Wang Dianxing. If it was any other time they would definitely be happy, but now they were both holding back and preparing to use the lightning banner. If Lin Yi was beaten on the spot by Wang Dianxing, then it would be fine, but if he was beaten half to death, what would happen if Lin Yi did not dare to break through to the profound ascension realm? Then wouldn't their previous preparations be in vain? Handicapped seat? Haha, you're really an interesting person. Wang Dianxing did not fly into a rage like everyone thought he would, but instead, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world, he convulsed with laughter, almost choking on his breath. Chapter 4875. Is that so? Lin Yi didn't take it seriously and smiled faintly. He didn't need to say anything at all. Just this expression alone was enough to make people angry. Everyone around was completely shocked. They were all whispering and looking at each other. Who was this? How dare he jump out and offend 3 academies at the same time? They didn't know the relationship between Lin Yi and Hui Yudi. Judging from Lin Yi's words just now, he was ready to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. Didn't that mean that he also offended Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy? The 3 academies added together, there were a total of 150 Yuanying stage masters, not to mention Wang Dianxing, the number 1 Yuanying stage master. Let's not talk about strength, at least this guy's courage really broke through the sky. Of course, these people from Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy must have recognized Lin Yi. This guy was an out-and-out ruthless person. After experiencing the West Island trial and the ancient warship, it was impossible for them not to recognize him. At this time, Ren Zhongyuan, with the help of Yi Xiaotian, limped back to the Soaring Cloud camp. His expression was extremely complicated. Because there was no response from the West Mountain Master, both of them thought that Lin Yi was already dead. After all, no matter how they thought about it, they didn't think that Lin Yi could escape from a profound ascension late-stage evil cultivator. They didn't expect that not only did Lin Yi not die, but he also stood in front of them and suddenly jumped out to interfere. However, although they hated Lin Yi at this time, they still unconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Wang Dianxing was indeed powerful, but who didn't know that when Lin Yi was only in the middle stage of Yuanying stage, he fought with the powerful Lung Ruffing for a whole half a month, and in the end Lung Ruffing was beaten to his knees. And now, it seemed that Lin Yi was already in the Yuanying stage and his strength had skyrocketed a lot compared to before. What else could it be other than courting death to go against him? Therefore, whether it was Soaring Cloud Academy or Morning Pride Academy, no one dared to speak at this time. They all chose to remain silent with a strange expression. Everyone from the Leidong Academy felt a little strange when they saw this scene. From their expressions, it was clear that they recognized this reckless brat. But what did that strange expression mean? Even if it was someone they knew, after witnessing the scene just now, they should know what would happen to a peak Yuanying cultivator if they met Wang Dianxing. Shouldn't they feel that this kid was overestimating himself? If one or two of them had this kind of expression, then so be it, but the crucial point was that everyone had this kind of expression. Everyone from the Leidong Academy immediately sensed that something was wrong. Could it be that this brat was not simply a fool but a truly ruthless person? The other Leidong Academy disciples looked at each other, but Wang Dianxing did not put Lin Yi in his eyes. As the #1 nascent soul cultivator, only a true profound ascending stage expert could be his opponent. It wasn't even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Wang Dianxing was just about to slap Lin Yi to death like he did to Ren Zhongyuan, but when he looked up, he saw that there were a few more people behind Lin Yi. There were actually two great beauties among them. His eyes immediately lit up. It was Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao. Huang Xiaotao was used to wearing a veil, but Wang Xinyan did not have this habit. After being noticed by everyone, everyone was stunned. Wang Dianxing froze for a moment, then drooled, "Yo, isn't this another one of the three fairies of the Gaolin Sea? Isn't she called Wang Xinyan?" Although the Gaolin Sea wasn't like the Leidong Sea where the headquarters of the school alliance was located, it was the largest of all the golden class seas. It was also geographically located in the center, connecting almost all the other golden class seas. Even the slightest movement would immediately spread in all directions. With this background, the three fairies of the Gaolin Sea were almost the same as the top beauties of the entire golden class sea. Their names were known by everyone, and all kinds of versions of their portraits had already spread. People might not be able to recognize someone like Hui Yudi with a veil, but someone like Wang Xinyan who was so calm would cause a commotion no matter where she went. Seeing that Wang Xinyan was standing so close to Lin Yi, Wang Dianxing couldn't help but speculate. Could she have followed this kid here? To be able to get the three fairies' attention, this kid must have some luck with women. He couldn't be the young master of some big family, could he? Other than this explanation, Wang Dianxing couldn't think of any other reason for Wang Xinyan to follow him willingly. After all, the kid in front of him didn't have any strong aura at all. He was probably relying on the fact that he had a strong background. Only a rich young master who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth would say something so stupid. It was a pity that the road to becoming a big shot didn't look at background, only strength. Wang Xinyan didn't even bother to look at Wang Dianxing. Although they shared the same surname, she didn't feel like she was from the same family as this guy with a mouth full of filth 500 years ago. Not to mention 500 years, even 5,000 or 50,000 years would make her feel disgusted. TSK looks like it. Looks like the fortune teller was right. I'm really lucky with women today, meeting two fairies at once. I wonder what it'll feel like to play with two fairies, ha. The more Wang Dianxing thought about it, the happier he got. He curled his lips and said to Lin Yi, "Kid, for the sake of the three fairies, I'll pretend I didn't hear your stupid words just now. But you have to let her play with me. As long as she pleases me, I'll give you the lightning punishment points afterward. How about it?" "Not much." Lin Yi looked at him like he was looking at an idiot. He didn't continue talking nonsense with him. He turned to the crowd and said, "All right, everyone is dismissed. The battle is over." What did he mean? Everyone was confused. The battle hadn't even started yet, why was it over already? Was this kid going to admit defeat? Everyone looked at each other, confused. In the end, they saw Lin Yi casually raise his hand and slap Wang Dianxing's face. Was there something wrong with this kid? Everyone from the Leidong Academy couldn't bear to watch. Everyone could tell that this brat was imitating Wang Dianxing's stance when he sent Ren Zhongyuan flying. Unfortunately, it was just a stance. He was the #1 nascent soul cultivator, that's why he had such strength and confidence. Who the hell do you think you are? Wang Dianxing was so angry that he wanted to laugh. His chi barrier was a defensive martial art that was specially trained in. Even if he just stood there and let the guy slap him, he'd only tire the idiot to death. But he wasn't going to let the guy do as he pleased. He wanted to slap back as well. Let's see who'd win. Chapter 4876. The audience gasped in unison. Even Ren Zhongyuan and the others who knew how ruthless Lin Yi was, could not close their mouths for a long time. All of them desperately looked up at the sky because Wang Dianxing, who was known as the #1 Yuaning stage cultivator, was slapped down from the sky at this moment. Lin Yi waved his hand disappointedly and said, "This is also recognized as the #1 Yuaning stage cultivator?" Who recognized it? Bought it? Everyone had long been petrified. Listening to his words, they could only desperately complain in their hearts. Even if he was not recognized by the cultivation world, he was at least recognized by Leidong City. Who would have thought that he would meet a freak like you? The entire audience was deathly silent for a long time, and only when Wang Dianxing fell from the sky did they finally begin to discuss spiritedly. At this time, this unbridled and ostentatious Lei Dong Academy's head had already fallen like a dead dog. His mouth was full of blood and he could no longer crawl back up. Everyone thought that Ren Zhongyuan was already miserable enough, but now, there was someone who fell even more miserably, and it was Wang Dianxing himself. Karma really came fast. Although he could not get up, Wang Dianxing did not die on the spot. He still had the strength to struggle desperately on the ground. Looking at Lin Yi in front of him as if he was looking at a monster, he shouted in disbelief, "Impossible! How is this possible? You are actually in the middle stage of profound ascension? How did you get in?" Everyone had already recovered a little, but when they heard his words, they suddenly gasped in unison, almost suffocating to death. Their nerves had been shocked to the point of numbness. If these words came from someone else, they would at most think that it was deliberately exaggerated, but at this moment, it was Wang Dianxing who said it, so the credibility was not the same. After all, the strength of the head of Lei Dong Academy was comparable to the early stage of profound ascension, or even the peak of the early stage of profound ascension. To be able to slap him like this, it could only be a middle stage profound ascension master. The people of Qinjiao Academy and Shangyun Academy were at least mentally prepared. Anyone who had seen or heard of the fierce battle between Lin Yi and Leng Rufeng would not be surprised by this result. However, the spectators from the Leidong Academy didn't know about this. At this moment, their gazes towards Lin Yi weren't just filled with shock, but complete reverence. If it was said that Lin Yi was just an early-stage profound ascension expert, then he might have found the Thunder Tribulation Point as soon as he entered. Adding on the fact that he broke through quickly, there was still a chance, but to say that he was a middle-stage profound ascension expert, that was absolutely impossible. How much time had passed since he came in? Not even half a day had passed. To be able to break through to the profound ascension early stage was already amazing, but profound ascension middle stage? What kind of speed was that? Based on this deduction, that guy must have been a mysterious ascension middle stage expert before he came in, but that was impossible. Let's not talk about why he, a profound ascension middle stage expert, would be able to sneak in. Just the special mechanism of the teleportation array had already determined that this was impossible. The teleportation array here was specially set up by the School Alliance. Although it could teleport out profound ascending stage masters, the upper limit of strength to teleport in was only nascent soul perfect stage. This was to ensure at least fairness. Otherwise, if any school had ulterior motives and sent a few profound ascending stage experts to cause trouble, everyone would not be able to smoothly break through. Everyone was puzzled. It was not that no one thought that Lin Yi was actually just a nascent soul perfect stage, but this possibility seemed even more unreliable to them than the profound ascending middle stage. A mere nascent soul perfect stage could match up to the profound ascending middle stage? Even if you were joking, there had to be a limit. Wang Dianxing was the legendary perfect nascent soul, and that was at most comparable to the peak of the profound ascending early stage. But no matter what, facing a profound ascending middle stage fierce person like Lin Yi, seeing Wang Dianxing's miserable appearance, the people of the Thunder Academy were all dumbfounded, and all of a sudden, they lost the momentum to fight against Lin Yi. Although they had a lot of people and might be able to kill Lin Yi together, the problem was that the other party was not one person. In the end, the group of overbearing Leidong Academy disciples carried Wang Dianxing, who was lying on the ground. Although they were unwilling, they still retreated in fear. What bullshit Wolf Academy? I think it's more like a sheep pen. Lu Xiaozhong's eyebrows were dancing as he stabbed at the back, making everyone's stomachs hurt. But when they saw Lin Yi, they could only lower their heads and run as fast as they could. After all, it was a bit embarrassing to stay here. He single-handedly forced the wolfish Leidong Academy to retreat. The others were completely stunned by this scene. Even the people from the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy were in disbelief. What did it mean to blow the sky? This was what it meant to blow the sky. Lin Yi. Hui Yudi could finally take off her veil at this point. She ran over excitedly, ignoring the strange looks from the others as she hugged Lin Yi's arm. Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao jumped, but they smiled at each other and took a step back, giving her and Lin Yi some space. Haha, I've been wondering if you'd come since the first day I got here. Too bad I couldn't act on my own before, so I didn't have the chance. Now I've finally found you. Lin Yi smiled as he hugged her. He didn't know why, but after a few months of separation, the two didn't feel estranged. Instead, they felt closer. Was this what they meant by absence makes the heart grow fonder? This thought suddenly appeared in Hui Yudi's mind, scaring her and making her cheeks burn. She hadn't even done anything with Lin Yi yet. How was this a wedding? I didn't expect to see you here, I'm so happy. Wayuti said softly, blushing. Lin Yi was only at the mid-stage of nascent soul when he left Soaring Cloud Academy, and even with her relationship with Lin Yi, she didn't think they'd meet again on the road of giants. This was a huge surprise for her. Me too. Lin Yi smiled and then glanced to the side. Yi Xiaotian was supporting Ren Zhongyuan as he limped over, and he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Ren Zhongyuan's heart was in a mess right now. Seeing his sweetheart act like a spoiled child next to Lin Yi naturally made him jealous, but even Wang Dianxing had suffered greatly under Lin Yi's hands. In the end, he didn't even dare let out a fart and ran away. What could he do? Chapter 4877. That. Ren Zhongyuan squeezed out a very stiff smile and awkwardly moved closer. As a result, Lin Yi glanced at him and he was immediately frightened to the point of not daring to move. Are you still not going to scram? Our Morning Star Academy has taken this place. Lin Yi coldly looked at him and Yi Xiaotian and the others. Ren Zhongyuan and the others immediately felt as if they were struck by lightning. Just now, when they saw Lin Yi single-handedly force the Leidong Academy to retreat, they were still relieved, thinking that they could finally keep these Thunder Retribution points. They never thought that the wolves were chased away, and in the end, an even more ferocious hanging eyes white-fronted tiger came in. The people of Morning Star Academy were overjoyed, while the disciples of Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy were all grieving. Even Wang Dianxing and the others from the Leidong Academy were scared by Lin Yi, not to mention them who had a deeper understanding of Lin Yi's strength. At this moment they could only look on with envy and did not dare to move. In fact, Lin Yi's words were not purely to vent his anger. After all, his current identity was still the temporary leader of the Morning Star team, and the Morning Star Academy and Morning Pride Academy were sworn enemies. He was not afraid of causing trouble for the Morning Star Academy. If he did not do this when he returned, he might be blamed by Ling Yuanqing and the others. Soaring Cloud, on the other hand, had always been on the same side as Dawn Pride Academy. It didn't matter to Lin Yi at all. Ren Zhongyuan and the other idiots were the reason why Lin Yi didn't like them. Let them complain all they wanted. Ren Zhongyuan, Yi Xiaotian, and Yao Jelly looked resentful, but they did not retreat immediately. Instead, they looked at Hui Yuti eagerly, hoping that she would put in a good word or two for the sake of their past relationship. After all, there were more than 50 Thunder Retribution points here. Even if the Morning Star Academy took 30, there would still be more than 20 left. Rather than letting the onlookers take advantage of it, it would be better to give it to these familiar faces. Anyway, it would not cause any loss to Lin Yi and the Morning Star Academy. However, they were obviously overthinking things. These so-called familiar faces were nothing but negatives to Lin Yi. Did they think they were plus points? If it wasn't for them, the other students from the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy would have been able to get a few spots. But now they were all ruined. For a moment, the students from the two academies who knew about the conflict between Lin Yi and Ren Zhongyuan's group all glared at them with extreme resentment. If it were someone else, they would have been beaten to death on the spot. They were the black sheep of the herd. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with these people, and immediately directed the disciples of the Morning Star Academy to enter the Lightning Tribulation Point. As for the remaining 20 or so disciples, he gave full authority to Hui Yuti, and told her to find a few disciples who had a good relationship with her to divide them up. The others could only obediently squat at the side and watch the show. Junior Apprentice Sister Yu Dai. Junior Sister Yuti. When Ren Zhongyuan and the others saw that the decision was in Hui Yuti's hands, they immediately felt that their opportunity had come. They quickly came over and said, even if we don't look at the monk's face, look at the Buddha's face. Even if it's for the sake of our two academies advancing and retreating together, you can't not give us a single spot, right? If it's really not possible, we can also buy it with spirit jades. I didn't say that I wouldn't give you a single spot. Hui Yuti glanced at them. Without waiting for Ren Zhongyuan and the others to be happy, she called out to the other disciples of the Soaring Cloud Academy. In the past, she had studied at the Soaring Cloud Academy for a period of time, so she could still find a few good friends. Looking at the few people who were happily entering the Lightning Tribulation Point, Ren Zhongyuan and the others were completely dumbfounded. They only felt a burning pain on their faces. This silent slap to the face was too fucking crisp. The other people who were watching the show looked at Ren Zhongyuan gloating while staring at the Lightning Tribulation Point. They had more people than the Morning Star Academy. Seeing the group of people leisurely walking into the Lightning Tribulation Point, they couldn't help but be tempted. However, with Lin Yi there, even if they borrowed 100 guts, they still wouldn't dare to make a move. After all, this was the middle stage of the mysterious ascended realm. Who would dare to offend him? Everyone else had already entered the lightning tribulation point, only Lin Yi and the others didn't immediately enter. On one hand, it was to suppress the surrounding crowd of onlookers. On the other hand, after not seeing each other for a few months, they naturally wanted to catch up. Especially since it was the first time Hui Yudi, Wang Xinyan, and Huang Xiaotao met. Little sister greets sister Xinyan, sister Xiaotao. Hui Yudi greeted the two girls with a red face. What? Aren't you older than them? And you still call them big sisters? Lin Yi, who was at the side, immediately laughed. In the end, when he turned his head, he saw Hui Yudi staring at him with a face full of killing intent. He hurriedly smiled with cold sweat on his forehead. Talking about age in front of a girl was simply courting death. What are you talking about? Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao glared at Lin Yi at the same time. Immediately, Lin Yi felt a lot of pressure. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. This was the rhythm of accidentally angering the crowd. Wang Xinyan intimately held Hui Yudi's hand and smiled softly. Although I'm a little unworthy of you calling me big sister, but because of a certain someone, we are indeed sisters. We should keep in touch in the future. Xiaotao and I don't have many friends in the eastern continent, so us sisters will have many companions. Lin Yi couldn't help but give a thumbs up inwardly. He didn't realize that Wang Xinyan had the potential to become the master of the harem. You're right, big sister. Hui Yudi shyly smiled and flirtatiously glanced at Lin Yi. She clearly hadn't done anything with Lin Yi yet, but Wang Xinyan's words were equivalent to indirectly establishing a status for her. She couldn't help but feel a little excited. At this moment, she was quite glad that these women of Lin Yi's were easy to get along with. Needless to say, Han Jingjing and the others, even Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, whom she met for the first time, were as gentle as water. Otherwise, if it were a girl with a strong or jealous personality, her relationship with Lin Yi would be a little difficult. Sister Yudi, you really are a pitiful person. Both of us were shocked when we heard him mention you before. You can even trick the younger sister of one of the three fairies into your hands. Someone really has a lot of luck with women. Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao looked at each other and smiled. Not at all. Isn't Big Sister Xinyan also one of the three fairies? Also, Big Sister Xiaotao's beauty is not below Little Sister's. If I were to say that I'm pitiful, then these two big sisters are the real deal. Hui Yudi covered her mouth and laughed. Listening to the compliments between the three women, Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh in his heart. As expected, no matter what kind of woman they were, they liked to be praised for their beauty. After a few words of compliments, the three women who met for the first time immediately became like sisters. Listening to the compliments between the three women, Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh in his heart. As expected, no matter what kind of woman they were, they liked to be praised for their beauty. After a few words of compliments, the three women who met for the first time immediately became like sisters. Chapter 4878. That's true. Lin Yi nodded. He knew that Wang Xinyan was the third fairy because he happened to hear it from someone else. Wang Xinyan never mentioned it. You're really going to become famous in the East Continent now. Two of the three fairies have fallen into your hands. Who knows how many men are gnashing their teeth and cursing you behind your back? Huang Xiaotao said playfully. Haha, it's because you're used to covering your face, Xiaotao. Otherwise you'd be the third fairy too. Xinyan found it interesting. But it's not good to be the target of public criticism. You have to be careful in the future. There are many people in the East Continent who will do anything to achieve their goals. Hui Yudi looked at Lin Yi worriedly. Don't worry. I'm already used to it. Lin Yi smiled and said, let's talk about it later. Let's go to the Thunder Tribulation Point first. Okay. The three girls nodded. They looked at each other and walked into the three Thunder Tribulation Points next to each other. At this time, almost everyone was in position. The protective array was activated one after another. No one could disturb them. Lin Yi walked towards the Thunder Tribulation Point. Unexpectedly, a woman suddenly followed him. Lin Yi turned around and saw that it was Qin Yu. At this time, the two disciples who were close to her had entered the Thunder Tribulation Point. She was alone. Because of what he saw before, Lin Yi felt a little disgusted with her. However, he didn't lose his temper on the spot. He just frowned and said, What's the matter? Master Lin, do you know the people from the Soaring Cloud Academy? Qin Yu looked around carefully. After making sure there was no one else, she asked in a low voice. Lin Yi was a little surprised. He didn't know why she asked this, but he still nodded. Qin Yu was happy. She quickly took out a very small plain wooden box and handed it to Lin Yi. She begged, "If I can't get out of the Thunder Tribulation Point this time, Master Lin, please help me pass this to a person named Jiang Hahai from the Soaring Cloud Academy. I will be very grateful." What? Lin Yi was even more stunned. When he opened the wooden box, his eyelids couldn't help but twitch. There were 2 pills inside. One was the golden pill of condensing nascent soul, and the other was the essence cultivation pill. They had more than what Jiang Hahai had given him. Seeing Lin Yi's strange expression, Qin Yu thought that he didn't want to agree. She knelt down on the spot and said, "Master Lin, I know that this request is very presumptuous, but I really have no other choice. I hope that Master Lin can help me. I will repay your kindness in my next life." Lin Yi was even more astonished. Seeing Qin Yu like this, she seemed to have the will to die. He had never seen anyone with such a mentality to challenge the profound ascension realm. What made him even more interested was that both Jiang Hahai and Qin Yu had asked him to help them carry their things. Did he look like a courier? Speaking of which, he couldn't be blamed. Who asked him to coincidentally be related to these 2 academies, and was a high and mighty figure in everyone's eyes. If it had been an ordinary disciple, Jiang Hahai and Qin Yu probably wouldn't have dared to ask for help, no matter how reliable their character was. After all, regardless of whether it was the golden pill of condensing nascent soul or the essence cultivation pill, these were rare pills. 9 out of 10 ordinary people would probably want to stuff their pockets with these pills. Only someone like Lin Yi wouldn't be interested in such a small profit. However, what really surprised Lin Yi was something else. From the situation on the way here, Qin Yu clearly had an ambiguous relationship with the other 2 male Morning Star disciples. She had always been thinking about Jiang Hahai. Why did she do this? Lin Yi helped her up from the ground, but before he could ask, Qin Yu had already said with red eyes, "Thank you, Master Lin. If you see Jiang Hahai, tell him that I, Qin Yu, have let him down. Tell him to cultivate properly and find another partner." Before she could finish speaking, Qin Yu's face was already flowing with tears. Choking with sobs, she turned around and was about to enter the lightning tribulation point. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that there was more to this than met the eye. Previously, he had thought that she was the same kind of woman as Situ Qian, but now it seemed that she wasn't. If Qin Yu was really that kind of woman, she wouldn't be thinking about Jiang Hahai so much after getting together with another man. A golden pill of condensing nascent soul and an essence cultivation pill. If these 2 were to be sold, it wouldn't be a small amount. Even if Qin Yu couldn't use them, she could still exchange them for an astronomical amount of spirit jades. They could definitely be exchanged for all kinds of extremely useful cultivation resources. After all, these 2 pills were very popular in the Yellow Sea region, especially the latter. If it wasn't for Jiang Hahai, Qin Yu definitely wouldn't have taken these 2 pills out. To any nascent soul expert, this was considered a huge investment. However, this was obviously not the right time to ask about this. Lin Yi hurriedly stopped her and asked, "Wait, what do you mean by that? Didn't you make any preparations to deal with the lightning tribulation?" Although the difficulty of breaking through to the profound ascension realm was extremely high, as long as there was a thunder profound pill, it could at least guarantee one's life. In fact, even if there was no thunder profound pill, as long as there was a life-saving pill like the 7th grade Great Recovery pill, there was no need to worry too much. There was no need to be like Qin Yu, who had a suicidal attitude. To be honest, although fighting with one's back to the river was highly respected, it wasn't a good thing to use this kind of mentality to break through. Breaking through was about natural success, and it wasn't about risking your life. Once your mentality was too tense, you would fall into a disadvantage. If you made a slight mistake, the consequences would often be unimaginable. "No." Qin Yu shook her head and her expression returned to calmness. "I don't have a thunder profound pill, and I don't have extra spirit jades to buy some healing and life-saving pills. So this time if I don't succeed, I'll die trying." Lin Yi was even more certain of his thoughts now. The 2 pills in his hands couldn't be exchanged for a thunder profound pill, but at least it was more than enough to exchange for a 7th grade Great Recovery pill, and it should be easy to exchange for it. After all, during the period before the start of the Road of Giants, the Vitality Cultivating pill was much more popular than the Great Recovery pill. As long as the news was released, there would be people coming to the door in minutes. There was no need to spend any effort at all. He could obviously do this, but in the end he still risked his life to give it to Jiang Hahai. After all, for an ordinary nascent soul expert, the value of an Vitality Cultivating pill and a Condensing Soul Golden pill was almost infinite. Lin Yi was silent for a moment, then he took a deep breath, took out a Thunder Profound pill and handed it to Qin Yu. Chapter 4879. However, Qin Yu immediately thought that the other party was the master of the chief alchemist Qing Danzi. The Thunder Shen pill was not something that was hard to obtain for him, so it would not be too shocking for him to casually take it out and give it to someone else. However, there was no rhyme or reason between them, so how could she accept such a gift? You misunderstood. I did not give it to you. It was Jiang Hahai who gave it to you. Lin Yi shook his head. Jiang Hahai. Qin Yu could not help but be stunned. She looked at Lin Yi in confusion, unable to react. That's right. When I left the Soaring Cloud Academy, he asked me to give it to you. That's why I know you. You are his fiancée. Lin Yi said with a smile. Ah. Qin Yu had just managed to stop her tears with great difficulty, but when she heard this, her tears involuntarily flowed out again. The warmth that welled up in her heart instantly wiped away all her unwillingness and grievances. Women could be very strong, but at the same time they could be very fragile. Qin Yu's crying soon attracted the attention of the people in the distance. They were all pointing at her. This profound ascension intermediate stage ruthless man was really affectionate. Not only did he marry 2/3 fairies, he even went to seduce another woman. It seemed that he was using the Thunder Shen point to force this woman to give herself to him. Otherwise, why would she cry? However, the people were just watching the fun. Flirting was a common problem for men. As long as they were strong enough, it was natural for them to marry as many beauties as they wanted. There was nothing to criticize about this. Listening to the discussion around him, Lin Yi shook his head speechlessly. He then said to Qin Yu, "All right, you can focus on your breakthrough first. We'll talk about other things after you come out." Okay. Thank you, Master Lin. Qin Yu nodded heavily. She turned around and walked towards the Thunder Shen point. However, the moment she walked into the Thunder Shen point, she could not help but look back at Lin Yi with a complicated expression. She was not a fool. She was too emotional just now to react, but now that she had calmed down a little, she immediately felt that something was wrong. With Jiang Hahai's ability, she would believe it if he gave her a condensing nascent pill. But the Thunder Shen pill? This was not within the scope of Jiang Hahai's ability at all. However, it was too late for her to say anything. Because Lin Yi had also walked into the Thunder Shen point, he had activated the protective array and was ready to break through to profound ascension. Qin Yu thought that with Lin Yi's identity and ability, he must have a lot of Thunder Shen pills. That was why he gave her one so casually. You did not know what she would think if she knew that Lin Yi had the last one. In fact, this was indeed Lin Yi's miscalculation. Because the people around him had already prepared the Thunder Shen pill, he only kept one for himself. Even if there were a lot of Thunder Shen vines in the jade space, he didn't have the intention to take them out and make them. He didn't expect to encounter this situation, and even if he wanted to make one now, it was too late. In fact, this was indeed a mistake on Lin Yi's part. Because the Thunder Shen pill was already prepared, he only kept the last one for himself. Even if there were a lot of Thunder Shen vine in the jade pendant space, he did not have the intention to refine it at first glance. He did not expect to encounter this kind of thing. In this case, even if he wanted to refine it now, it was too late. Along the way, some of the Thunder Shen points that were closer to the entrance had already begun to operate. Lin Yi had carefully observed the Thunder Shen tribulations triggered by others. At first glance, it was really shocking. A normal Yuanian great perfection expert might be turned into an electric baton on the spot. Its power was extraordinary. However, if it was just a lightning strike of this level, Lin Yi did not think that it could cause any substantial harm to him. After all, compared to the time when he received the inheritance of the giant eel, it was simply too far apart. No matter what, Lin Yi also had a thunder attribute spirit root. Ordinary lightning strikes were not harmful to him. Instead, it was a rare supplement that could make his lightning power stronger. Only when it exceeded the upper limit of his tolerance would it cause real lightning damage. But even then, the damage would be greatly reduced. Therefore, when trying to break through to the profound ascension realm, others without the protection of the Thunder Shen pill would have a slim chance of survival. But for Lin Yi, it could not be said that there was no impact at all, but at most, it would be a small trouble, and it would interfere a little when he condensed his spirit root. If it weren't for this strong self-confidence, even if Lin Yi sympathized with Qin Yu, he would not take his own life as a joke. He would not be so compassionate to the point of being hopeless. Sitting in the middle of the Thunder Shen point, Lin Yi took a deep breath, closed his eyes to adjust his state, and officially began to break through to the profound ascension realm. The people who were still watching looked at each other. They believed Wang Yanxing's words and thought that Lin Yi was a profound ascension middle stage master. But why would a profound ascension middle stage master run to the Thunder Shen point? Could it be that this guy was not a profound ascension middle stage master? Just as this doubt appeared in everyone's mind, they saw that Lin Yi in the Thunder Shen Point began to circulate his mental cultivation method with all his strength. The protective array only played a protective role, and did not block out the situation inside. Everyone was immediately stunned. This guy was actually a nascent soul great perfection. Blah. At this time, the people of the Thunder Academy had not gone far with Wang Dianxing. After hearing the exclamations of the crowd, their hands trembled, and the originally miserable number 1 nascent soul cultivator fell to the ground on the spot. Immediately adding insult to injury, he fainted from the pain. After a long while, the dignified head of the Thunder Academy finally woke up. The first thing he did was desperately struggle to look in the direction of Lin Yi. With just a glance, his heart immediately broke. How is this possible? How is this possible? This kid is only at the nascent soul great perfection, but he actually has the strength comparable to the profound ascension middle stage? Wang Dianxing was at a disadvantage. If he had fainted just now, he would probably die with grievances. That's right, the head is already the legendary perfect nascent soul, which is at most comparable to the peak of the profound ascension early stage. How can that guy be comparable to the profound ascension middle stage? Could it be that he took some medicine? The others also found it hard to believe. That's impossible. Even if he took medicine, he can only take it when he is about to break through to the profound ascension stage. If he took it halfway and then went to break through to the profound ascension stage, wouldn't he be courting death? Someone shook his head and analyzed. That's right, what kind of medicine in the world can make a nascent soul great perfection instantly comparable to the profound ascension middle stage? If there really was such a medicine, then wouldn't everyone go crazy to snatch it? The others also felt that it was impossible. Everyone looked at each other, then turned to look at Wang Dianxing. Among them, the one who was most likely to see through Lin Yi's background was the head of the Thunder Academy who had fought with him before. Chapter 4880. If he lost to a profound ascension middle stage master, other than being a little unwilling, he wouldn't feel that it was a big deal. After all, he was only at the nascent soul great perfection. When he reached the profound ascension middle stage, he would even be able to defeat the profound ascension late stage. Bullying a nascent soul great perfection was nothing. However, if the opponent was a nascent soul great perfection like himself, then the blow would be too great. Not only was he the head of the Thunder Academy, but he was also the number 1 nascent soul stage cultivator with a perfect nascent soul stage. Let's not talk about whether this title was true or not. At least, Wang Dianxing had always been a super genius that attracted attention. He was invincible in the same level, and it was precisely because of this crushing pressure that Wang Dianxing was able to create today's Wang Dianxing. His strength did not only come from his own strength, but also from the confidence that he was invincible in the same level. But now that he had met Lin Yi, this confidence was instantly shattered. Once he lost his strong self-confidence, Wang Dianxing was no longer the existence known as the number 1 nascent soul stage cultivator, but just an ordinary nascent soul stage cultivator. Even if Wang Dianxing's injuries could recover, his self-confidence was gone forever. It was estimated that even if he tried to break through to profound ascension this time, it would be very difficult for him to succeed. The people of the Thunder Academy carried the dazed Wang Dianxing further and further away. More than half of the onlookers had also dispersed, and the remaining people were prepared to stay and try their luck. After Lin Yi and the others broke through to profound ascension, if they were lucky they might be able to get to the Thunder Tribulation Point. According to past experience, as long as there was a suitable Thunder Tribulation Point on the road of a tyrant, it would take 3 to 5 days at the fastest, and half a month at the slowest. Of course, if it was outside, it might not even be able to trigger the Thunder Tribulation for a year and a half. But this time, everyone was lucky enough to have their eyes opened, because they saw that some people did not even need 3 to 5 days. From start to finish, it was not even a day. It was not Lin Yi, nor was it Wang Xinyan and Hui Yudi, but 2 guys who were not valued by the onlookers before, Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing. The 2 of them were the first to enter the lightning tribulation point amongst the morning stars, and they had chosen a more remote location that would not attract much attention. For the sake of breaking through to the profound ascension realm, they had made ample preparations, and each of them had a Thunder Shen core. Bao Zuoyang was, after all, the son of a city lord. His background was deep, and he was able to get his hands on such a rare elixir like the Profound Thunder Pill, and 2 of them at once, which made Su Kexing bask in his glory. If it was just the Thunder Profound Pill, it would be fine. It could only save their lives during the Thunder Tribulation. It would not allow them to be faster than others. However, don't forget that Bao Zhuoyang still had the lightning guiding banner. In this place where the thunderclouds were dense, a light wave of the lightning guiding banner could easily attract a lightning strike. Bao Zhuoyang only had to make a slight move and the lightning tribulation for the two of them had already arrived. In fact, if they did not want to relying on the lightning guiding banner, they would not even need to go through the lightning tribulation. However, this way they would not be able to use the power of the lightning tribulation to temper the spirit roots in their bodies. They would not be able to fuse the two spirit roots into one, and naturally, they would not be able to break through to the profound ascension realm. It had to be said that although Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing had a belly full of evil tricks, their strength was still quite good. After attracting the lightning tribulation, they successfully broke through in just one day, and became the first profound ascension experts to come out of the Morning Star Academy. At this moment, the others, including Lin Yi, had not even attracted the lightning tribulation, let alone successfully breaking through to the profound ascension realm. The two of them were the first to break through at such a frightening speed, causing the spectators outside to be shocked. They looked at each other in dismay and started discussing. Since when did this unknown Morning Star Academy become so powerful? First, it was a heaven-defying great perfection nascent soul stage that was comparable to the profound ascension middle stage, and then there were two guys who broke through in just one day. In just one day they successfully broke through to the profound ascension realm. This had already broken the historical record, right? Every breakthrough was a process of accumulation, especially for a big realm breakthrough. It was very common for it to take a few months. It was only during the process of breaking through to the profound ascension realm that the lightning tribulation would be more special, which was why the time was slightly shorter. However, the principle remained the same. The faster the breakthrough, the stronger the strength of the person. According to this logic, then wouldn't the strength of these two Morning Star Academy disciples who broke through in one day be able to easily crush the existence of the same level as them? A look of awe appeared on the faces of all the onlookers. After a long time, someone finally dared to brace himself and approach them. He lowered his head and smiled apologetically. "Congratulations, big brothers. Breaking through in one day is an unprecedented miracle. You two big brothers are truly dragons among men." Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing were stunned for a moment, then nodded with a bit of pride. Everyone loved to hear compliments and they were no exception. Especially Bao Zhuoyang, who grew up listening to such words. If he didn't hear it for a day he would feel uncomfortable. "Two big brothers, the two of you are already high and mighty experts of the profound ascension stage. You don't have any use for these two lightning tribulation points. I wonder if you can let me use it a little? I am very grateful and will definitely repay you in the future." Seeing this, the person quickly expressed his intentions. If it wasn't for the lightning tribulation points, he wouldn't have come up to these two to flatter them. It's not like he had nothing better to do. Get lost. Bao Zhuoyang was just beaming with joy from the compliments, but when he heard this, he immediately turned hostile. He scolded, "Damn, you want lightning tribulation points just by flattering me? Do you think I'm easy to fool? You're courting death." The person was shocked. Facing two new profound ascension stage experts, he didn't even dare to fart. He quickly nodded and bowed to apologize, then shrunk his head and retreated. "Wait." Su Kexing stopped him, turned his head and whispered to Bao Zhuoyang, "Young Master Bao, our lightning tribulation points are empty anyway. Why don't we give them to these people? It'll be convenient for us to deal with Lin. After all, our lightning banner can't create lightning tribulation out of thin air. The more people there are, the easier it will be for us to control the lightning tribulation." "What do you mean?" Bao Zhuoyang was slightly taken aback. Looking at the lightning tribulation points around him, there were more than 50 of them. One or two more wouldn't make a difference, right? "Young Master Bao, think about it. If we were to mobilize our own Morning Star Academy's disciples, even if we managed to kill Lin Fan with so many people discussing it, they would definitely realize that something was wrong. If the higher-ups personally led a team to investigate, there might be trouble," Su Kexing said softly. Chapter 4881. That's why we need to find a few irrelevant people and use the Thunder Test points from them. Then, we can take some from the heads of the people from the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy. Nobody will know. Then, even if someone wants to investigate, they won't be able to find anything. Su Kexing laughed. "Not bad, not bad. You have a good mind. Otherwise there will be a flaw this time." Bao Zhuoyang's eyes lit up when he heard that, and he secretly gave a thumbs up. He immediately said to the man who looked nervous, "Okay, seeing that you're sincere, I'll give you 1 thunder retribution point." Really? Thank you, big brother. Thank you, big brother. The man was overjoyed. He was about to walk into the thunder test point, but he was stopped by Bao Zhuoyang. Hey, aren't you being too unreasonable? Do you really think that the lightning tribulation points are given for free? Don't tell me that you shouldn't express your gratitude. If you don't have it, I will give it to someone else. Such a good thunder test point is hard to get. Bao Zhuoyang looked like he was waiting for a good price. Hearing this, the people in the distance were really eager to have a try. They had all seen the benefits of the thunder test point. Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing had attracted the thunder test point not long after they went in. It was obvious that the thunder test point was very active. It was worth paying a little price. This. The man hesitated for a while. Finally, he gritted his teeth and took out something. It was a small piece of nascent soul ginseng. That's more like it. Bao Zhuoyang's eyes lit up. Although the gathering soul golden pill was useless to him, the nascent soul ginseng was different. It was priceless and could be used to refine all kinds of good things, not just the gathering soul golden pill. As for the other thunder test point, they quickly gave it to the group of onlookers. Of course they had to pay a big price for it. Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing looked at each other. While the others were not paying attention, they sneaked behind a huge rock and prepared to deal with Lin Yi with an evil smile. At this time Lin Yi had warmed up for an entire day and was in peak condition. Everything was ready and he was just waiting for the lightning tribulation. However, he did not have the lightning guiding banner like Bao Zhuoyang and the others. The lightning tribulation depended on luck. Although thunderclouds covered the sky, if one was unlucky, it was normal to wait for 8 to 10 days. The process of waiting was extremely long, but Lin Yi did not have the slightest intention of being distracted. Earlier, when Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing attracted the lightning tribulation, he had actually sensed it. However, he did not deliberately look at it. At this time, the lightning tribulation could descend at any time, and the consequences would be unimaginable if he was distracted. Here it comes. Lin Yi's eyes suddenly lit up, and he immediately prepared to resist the lightning tribulation. But after waiting for a long time, there was still no movement above his head. Lin Yi could not help but feel a little strange. He had the thunder spiritual root and was very sensitive to the power of thunder and lightning. Just now, he clearly felt that a powerful thunder was brewing above his head and was about to descend. Why did he forcibly hold it back after waiting for a moment? To use an unsightly analogy, this feeling was like going to the toilet halfway. Obviously he had already come out, but in the end he suddenly withdrew it. What the hell was going on? Could it be that the thunder god was playing with people? Of course, this was not the thunder god's idea. If there really was a thunder god, he would probably be very uncomfortable at this moment. How could he withdraw it willingly? It was obvious that someone had forced him to withdraw it. There was no doubt that the masterminds behind all this were Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing. The lightning guiding banner could not completely control the thunder and lightning, nor could it create something out of nothing. However, it could make the best use of the situation and delay the lightning tribulation that Lin Yi had painstakingly attracted was obviously a small matter. That was close, I almost let Lin Yi slip away. Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing looked at each other with lingering fear. Just now, if the lightning tribulation had really descended, the two of them would not have had time to do anything. It was just an ordinary lightning tribulation, so obviously, it would not have caused any harm to Lin Yi. Any profound thunder pill would have been enough to deal with it. But fortunately, Su Kexing had reminded them in time, and Bao Zhuoyang had finally managed to delay it at the last moment. Otherwise, all their efforts would have been in vain. Over there. Over there. Su Kexing suddenly pointed in a direction. At this time, there was finally someone who had attracted the lightning tribulation, and it was a disciple of Morning Pride Academy. Naturally, they could attract the lightning tribulation over without any worries. Haha, good. Bao Zhuoyang grinned and promptly waved the lightning guiding banner to mobilize the lightning tribulation. He had been studying the usage of the lightning guiding banner for the past few months. Although he was not very familiar with it, he could already barely mobilize the lightning tribulation. He wouldn't make a mistake in a fluster. One was looking around for a target, the other was concentrating on mobilizing the lightning tribulation. Very quickly, the two of them quietly gathered the lightning tribulation of 4 people. Without exception, they were all disciples of Morning Pride Academy and Soaring Cloud Academy. Let's not talk about whether Lin Yi would die or not, at least the 4 of them would definitely be at a disadvantage. They had spent so much effort to attract the lightning tribulation, but suddenly it was taken away by someone else. If they could attract the lightning tribulation again in a short period of time, then it would be fine. but if they couldn't, then their trial would end here. Shen Sheng and the others would not even need to think about it. TSK for people's lightning tribulation plus that guy's lightning tribulation, that's a total of 5 people's lightning tribulation. Let's kill him. Bao Zuoyang could not wait any longer. Actually, according to his previous plan, he only needed to mobilize 2 people's lightning tribulation to kill Lin Yi. This time he was already very patient. I think we should make more. What if it doesn't kill him? Su Kexing still felt that it was not too safe. How can it not kill him? His 1 Thunder Profound Core can at most block 1 person's lightning tribulation. How can the other 4 people's lightning tribulation not kill him? Do you think they raised the lightning tribulation? Bao Zuoyang snorted disdainfully and then said, even if it really doesn't kill him, both of us are profound ascending early stage experts now. 2 against 1, how can we not kill him? Please don't. Young Master Bao, you saw it just now. Lin Yi's strength is not to be underestimated. His nascent soul perfect stage is comparable to profound ascending middle stage. If he becomes a profound ascending early stage expert, how can the 2 of us beat him? Su Kexing shook his head repeatedly. Bao Zuoyang suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. It was because he had just broken through that he was so proud and arrogant, but after being reminded by Su Kexing, he immediately returned to reality. That's right, with their strength they probably could not even beat Lin Yi, who was nascent soul perfect stage, let alone Lin Yi, who had broken through to profound ascending stage. Chapter 4882. That makes sense. Bao Zuoyang didn't dare to act rashly and continued to accumulate the thunder tribulations from other people. Because of the influence of the lightning attracting banner, everyone's thunder tribulations were generally attracted much faster than average, which made it convenient for Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing. If everyone couldn't attract the thunder tribulations, the 2 of them wouldn't be able to do anything. After all, it was very tiring to control so many thunder tribulations with the lightning attracting banner. Finally, both of them felt that it was about time. At this time, if Lin Yi's thunder tribulations were included, the lightning attracting banner had controlled 10 people's thunder tribulations. In fact, even the lightning attracting banner couldn't bear such a huge amount of thunder tribulations. This had almost reached the limit of its control. If not, Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing would probably continue to gather more thunder tribulations. After all, the strength that Lin Yi had shown before was too amazing. If he couldn't be killed in 1 strike, there would be endless troubles in the future. Now it's done, we can definitely kill Lin Yi. Su Kexing urged with his eyes shining. Watch carefully, it's time to witness a miracle. Bao Zuoyang was even more impatient than him. Looking at the super thick layers of thunder tribulations above his head, it was like looking at a naked beauty. He couldn't wait to pounce on it and kiss it. This was all his masterpiece. At this time Lin Yi, who was in the thunder tribulations, was still unaware of all this. He was still secretly puzzled. He clearly felt that there was a strong thunder aura above his head, and it kept moving, but he didn't know why it didn't fall down. What the hell is this? Lin Yi was confused. At this time there was one thing that made him more confused than this. At this moment, the biggest problem he was facing was which spiritual root attribute should he condense? Most people wouldn't have this kind of trouble. Those who only had a single spiritual root attribute didn't even need to consider, because they didn't even have the qualification to break through to profound ascension. Of course, those who could enter East Continent College basically had dual spiritual root attributes. These people didn't have much hesitation, they just needed to directly fuse 2 spiritual root attributes. As for people with tri-elemental spiritual roots, they were rare even in the Eastern Continent Academy, where geniuses gathered. Furthermore, there weren't many options for them to choose from. It was nothing more than a combination of tri-elemental spiritual roots, and in the end, it all depended on which one was the best. But Lin Yi was different. He didn't just have 3 attributes, he had a total of 8. Other than the 5 basic attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, there was also the ice, mist, and thunder. This choice was truly a headache. If it was possible, Lin Yi would certainly be eager to fuse all the attributes of the spirit root into one. However, this was simply not realistic. That damn thing had already said that although his physique was special, theoretically there was indeed a possibility of fusing the 8 attributes into one. However, this possibility was too small and could be ignored. The limitation was not due to talent, but purely due to a lack of motivation. Fusing spiritual roots of different attributes together was an extremely difficult and complicated process. To a certain extent, this was akin to breaking down and building again. Breaking down the original variety of spiritual roots, and rebuilding a brand new spiritual root after fusing. Both processes required extremely powerful external forces to complete, and this external force came from the thunder retribution. For the vast majority of people, the thunder retribution was undoubtedly a destructive force that could turn people into ashes in an instant. However, at the same time, it was also an extremely rare creative force. Under such a powerful force, it wasn't strange for anything to be born, including spiritual roots. However, no matter how shocking the thunder retribution was, the power of thunder and lightning that each person could summon was ultimately limited. After all, if it really exceeded the limit, then it would be a thunder burial instead of a thunder retribution. Even if a normal person had a lot of thunder shen pills, they wouldn't be able to survive under the power of a thunder burial. According to that damn thing's estimate, the power of a normal person's thunder retribution was generally enough to fuse 2 types of spiritual roots. Only very few people would have the opportunity to fuse 3 types of spiritual roots, and that was already the limit. It was precisely because of this reason that it was rare to see a 3-spirit profound stage expert in the 5 heavenly islands. The so-called 3-spirit profound stage expert was an existence that had fused 3 types of spiritual roots into one. Ordinary profound ascending stage experts only had 2 spiritual roots. Although there weren't many geniuses with 3 types of spiritual roots, it wasn't to the point of being so rare. The thunder retribution's limit was the key. Throughout all the successful profound ascending stage experts, geniuses with 3 types of spiritual roots were at most 10%, and among this 10%, those who could fuse 3 types of spiritual roots at once was less than 10%. Therefore, no matter where one went, 3-spirit profound stage experts were rare, because it was the same as a perfect gold core and a perfect nascent soul. In the face of an expert of the same level, it was almost an absolute existence. As for an 8-spirit profound stage expert? What the hell was that? Not to mention an 8-spirit profound stage expert, it was estimated that Lin Yi was the only one in the world who had 8 types of spiritual roots. Ordinary people had never even heard of such a thing. Therefore, the most troublesome problem for Lin Yi now was to choose 3 out of the 8 types of spiritual roots. Even so, he had to be prepared for the failure of fusing 3 into 1. In the end, it was very likely that he could only achieve 2 into 1. In fact, Lin Yi had also thought of another way. At first glance, it was quite feasible, but the ghost thing extinguished his idea with a simple sentence. Lin Yi's idea was very simple. To put it bluntly, it was to fuse multiple times, and each time it was 2 into 1. After repeating it 7 times, wouldn't it be 8 into 1? Ordinary people wouldn't have such a strange idea because for them, breaking through to the profound ascension stage was a one-time thing. If they succeeded, then they succeeded. If they failed, then they failed. Only a freak like Lin Yi, who had 8 spiritual roots, would be so creative and want to repeat it again and again. In this case, every repetition was equivalent to breaking through to the profound ascension stage again. Anyway, there were thunderclouds here, and he had many spiritual roots, so it was not impossible in theory. However, after the ghost thing noticed it, it almost laughed crazily. Do you think fusing spiritual roots is like stir-frying vegetables? If you want to add oil and vinegar, if you want to add vinegar, if you don't fry it in one go, you can return it to the pot and reheat it again? Is this not reliable? Lin Yi scratched his head. Chapter 4883. Lin Yi could only give up completely. Since the 8-spirit profound ascending stage master was just an unattainable fantasy, then he could only return to reality and think about which 3 types of spiritual roots he should fuse with. But this problem was really unsolvable. No matter who it was, they would have to scratch their heads. One must know that for a profound ascending stage master, although other individual spiritual roots would always exist, but in the future, it would be the fusion of multiple spiritual roots. In other words, the fusion of spiritual roots would directly affect the strength of a profound ascending stage master. Ice, mist, and lightning spiritual roots were extremely rare, and all of them were very useful. Lin Yi did not want to exclude any of them. As for the remaining 5 types of spiritual roots, it was not so easy to exclude them. At least, Lin Yi had been using the fire attribute martial skill very well. Not to mention his 5 elements killing chi, which was built on the 5 types of spiritual roots. Thinking about it, Lin Yi's head was getting bigger. No matter which one it was, he did not want to give up. To be so depressed while trying to break through to the profound ascending stage, it was really unprecedented. When Lin Yi was in a dilemma, there was suddenly a loud bang above his head. A thick lightning pillar that was visible to the naked eye suddenly fell down without any warning. For other people's thunder tribulations, the lightning pillar was at most as thick as a bucket. The momentum was already very shocking. But for Lin Yi, how was it a bucket? It was simply a super big water tank. Ha 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 ha. Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing, who were hiding in the corner, saw this shocking scene and immediately laughed until they were cramping. Even the two of them, the masterminds behind the scenes, did not think that the scene would be so spectacular and terrifying. Such a cruel and terrifying thunder tribulations, not to mention a mere Lin Yi, even if it was a mountain opening stage master, he would probably be killed on the spot. The other onlookers all had a look of horror on their faces. A lot of people were scared away on the spot. They did not know that there was an inside story behind this. They thought that the thunder tribulations here were so cruel. If they went in and got the same treatment, wouldn't they be struck into charcoal in minutes? At this time, the person who was hit by the thunder tribulations, Lin Yi, was also shocked. This super lightning pillar came too suddenly and caught him unprepared. But after he reacted, he was not shocked but happy. He was just worried that the power of the thunder tribulations was not enough. In the end, a super lightning pillar fell from the sky. It was estimated that its power was more than 10 times that of the others. Now, not only was there hope for the 3 spiritual roots, even the 8 spiritual roots could be a little bit more. But in the next moment, when the lightning pillar touched his body, this little bit of surprise was instantly shattered. All that was left in his brain was that last bit of feeling. Excruciating pain, unparalleled excruciating pain. Since young, Lin Yi had experienced all kinds of pain. Before he made his debut in the secular world, he even had special training to resist electric shocks. Dealing with all kinds of attacks, including electric shocks, was the basic quality of an assassin. Not to mention that he had also received the thunder and lightning inheritance from the giant electric eel. He had the thunder attribute spiritual root in his body. However, Lin Yi was obviously thinking too much. Even though the intensity of this lightning strike was not as strong as that of the giant electric eel, there was still an essential difference between the two. Although the thunder and lightning inheritance also appeared in the form of a lightning strike, it was purely an illusory attack that appeared in the spiritual world. As long as Lin Yi's willpower was strong enough, his physical body would not suffer any substantial damage. But this time it was completely the same. This was a real lightning strike. There was no problem with Lin Yi's willpower, but after all, he was only a body of flesh and blood. Even if his physical body was much stronger than the average original soul stage, it was still not very possible for him to withstand such a horrifying super lightning strike. At this time, Lin Yi's whole body was shrouded in a huge lightning pillar. He was trembling like a sieve. The pain was simply unimaginable to others. Haha, Lin Yi is dead this time. Even his bones have been electrocuted. Bao Zuoyang was exultant. At this time, because of the super lightning pillar, others could no longer see Lin Yi's appearance clearly. They could only vaguely see a human-shaped skeleton inside. After all, it's 10 times the thunder tribulation. If he can even withstand this, he's not human. Su Kexing smiled and then said with some strange thoughtfulness, "Young Master Bao, did you notice that Lin Yi doesn't seem to have taken the Thunder Xian pill?" "Really? Did he forget to take it?" Bao Zuoyang was suddenly stunned. Only then did he remember that Lin Yi's body did not have the symbolic buffer layer of the Thunder Xian pill. There was only one explanation, and that was that Lin Yi did not take the Thunder Xian pill beforehand. But how was that possible? No matter how he looked at it, this kid didn't look like the kind of person who would lack the Thunder Xian pill. Maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. Such a powerful lightning strike, it's very normal for the Thunder Xian pill's buffer layer to be destroyed in an instant. Su Kexing shook his head. He also did not believe that Lin Yi would make such a low-level mistake. Aha, it doesn't matter if there is or not. Anyway, Lin Yi is going to die. Bao Zuoyang said proudly. What the two didn't expect was that even though Lin Yi was suffering from such a terrifying lightning strike, he was still able to endure it. With his unparalleled willpower, he forcefully held his body that was about to reach the breaking point, and didn't turn into ashes just like that. At this time, as long as he could not die, he was bound to gain something. Lin Yi clearly felt that the originally not very strong thunder attribute spiritual root in his body, under the baptism of this super strong lightning strike, actually began to stir. It became the first of the 8 spiritual roots to be aroused. This feeling was like a seedling that had just sprouted. After being watered, it suddenly began to grow crazily. The thunder attribute spiritual root in Lin Yi's body at an incredible speed, unexpectedly absorbed all the lightning power, becoming more and more powerful. In the end, the thunder attribute spiritual root did not need Lin Yi to circulate his mental cultivation method. It took over everything by itself. It felt as if it had temporarily taken over Lin Yi's body, taking advantage of the opportunity to swallow the other spiritual roots. Ice attribute spiritual root, mist attribute spiritual root, metal attribute spiritual root. One after another, all the spiritual roots were swallowed. Lin Yi had never thought that the thunder attribute spiritual root, which had appeared the latest and weakest among the 8 spiritual roots, would actually overtake and become the master of everything. Chapter 4884. Lin Yi panicked. He couldn't let this go on. Although it was already far beyond his expectations to be able to merge 5 elements into one, his ultimate goal was still to merge 8 elements into one. Only by merging all 8 elements into one would he be the strongest. However, Lin Yi had no way of controlling the lightning tribulation. He could only watch as it grew weaker and weaker. When the last bit of lightning energy was exhausted, everything would be set in stone and could no longer be changed. However, at this moment, the lightning field above him suddenly grew stronger. In a short period of time, it had gathered another powerful lightning strike that was similar to the previous one. This made Lin Yi pleasantly surprised. It seemed like the Thunder God was taking special care of him. Not only was this lightning tribulation 10 times stronger than others, it came again after another, as if afraid that it wouldn't kill him. Fortunately, he had received the lightning inheritance from the giant electric eel, and his resistance to lightning was more than 1,000 times stronger than ordinary people. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to survive this time. What Lin Yi didn't know was that he didn't need to thank the Thunder God who disliked him, but Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing. After all, they were the initiators of the Super Lightning Tribulation duo. The two of them were at their wits' end. They never would have thought that Lin Yi wouldn't be blasted into smithereens in the face of such a terrifying lightning tribulation. He was even able to struggle on his deathbed. What kind of body did he have? If they couldn't kill Lin Yi this time and let him walk out of the lightning tribulation alive, they knew that they could forget about dealing with Lin Yi in the future, because there would never be a better opportunity than this one. Hence, Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing couldn't care less about the plan they had made earlier, and hurriedly added another 10 people's lightning tribulations. As for whether the target was a Morning Star disciple, this was no longer within their scope of consideration. Compared to striking Lin Yi to death, this was an insignificant matter. It was another wave of unparalleled pain, but Lin Yi was enjoying it at the same time. After experiencing the super strong lightning strike just now, this kind of pain was no longer unbearable for him. Moreover, it just happened to inject a strong force into the brand new spirit root that was about to be exhausted. It crazily devoured the remaining 3 spirit roots and couldn't stop. Fuck, is this guy even human? He's not dead yet? Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing were on the verge of going crazy as they watched Lin Yi struggle against the lightning tribulation once again without collapsing. Logically speaking, even the giants of the mountain opening period might not be able to withstand such a powerful thunder tribulation. Lin Yi was just an expert at the peak of the nascent soul realm, but he actually survived 2 thunder tribulations. The two of them thought that they had planned it very carefully in advance. Who would have thought that they would encounter such an undying freak? I don't care anymore. I must kill him this time. Flaws or not, we can talk about that later. As long as we don't have any evidence, we can just push the blame away when someone investigates. Bao Zuoyang said fiercely. Yes, if we don't kill this Lin Yi this time, there will be endless trouble in the future. Let's not talk about whether or not we can deal with him in the future. When he comes back to his senses, he might suspect us. We must kill him at all costs. Su Kexing nodded heavily. The two looked at each other and gritted their teeth as they began to risk their lives. Basically, as long as they could see the thunder tribulation, they would move it to Lin Yi's head. Only Wang Xinyan and the others who were close to Lin Yi made them a little wary. They didn't dare do anything to them just in case there were too many flaws. But this was enough. There were more than 50 thunder tribulation points in the surroundings, and when the two began to risk their lives, it wouldn't just be a double thunder tribulation, it would be a triple thunder tribulation. The two were crazily attracting the thunder tribulation, and Lin Yi didn't notice it at all. He used this powerful thunder tribulation to forcefully fuse all 8 elements together, forming a new 8-compound spirit root. The other profound ascendant stage masters only had compound spirit roots, and triple compound spirit roots were already rare. Lin Yi's 8 compound spirit roots was completely unprecedented, and it would be hard to find another freak like him in the future. Thanks to these two, Lin Yi didn't just fuse all 8 spirit roots, but there was still a surge of thunder tribulation above his head. He might as well strike while the iron was hot, and further integration and refinement. Because the thunder attribute was the first to activate, Lin Yi's 8 compound spirit roots were mainly thunder attribute. Although this didn't hinder the use of other elements, the strongest element in his body was thunder attribute. This was something unimaginable in the past. Don't forget that lightning wasn't a main part of Lin Yi's attack and defense system. At most, he relied on his unparalleled speed advantage and used it as a distraction. Against a strong opponent, it wouldn't do any real damage at all. But now it was different. The power of thunder tribulation had strengthened by hundreds and thousands of times in a short period of time. If he waved his hand, it wouldn't be a thin electric arc anymore, but a real powerful lightning strike. The key was that it wasn't over yet. The endless thunder tribulation above his head was constantly refining his new 8 compound spirit roots, and it was also further strengthening the power of thunder tribulation in his body. At this time, the thunder tribulation was no longer a torture for him, but a real enjoyment. It was like eating a big supplement. No matter how much thunder tribulation came, it would be enough. The feeling of the power in his body growing rapidly could only be described with one word: cool. Boom. Boom. The 10 times thunder tribulation bombarded the top of Lin Yi's head continuously, and it looked like the end of the world was coming. At this time there weren't many people who dared to stay and watch. After all, even if they were given such a terrifying thunder tribulation spot, they wouldn't dare to take it. At this time, standing far away, they would be struck by the dissipating thunder and lightning from time to time. A slight scratch would make them feel like dying. If they were to sit in the thunder tribulation spot, they wouldn't even dare to imagine the feeling. They weren't immortal cockroaches like Lin Yi, who couldn't move even when his bones were electrocuted. If they were in Lin Yi's position, they would have died even if they had 100 lives. At this time, not only the onlookers, but the entire path of giants had become anxious. When the news of the 10 times thunder tribulation spread out, everyone thought that it was a sign of the early arrival of the thunder tribulation. Although there had never been a situation where the thunder tribulation coincided with the thunder tribulation in the past, what if it did? No matter what, the sudden appearance of the 10 times thunder tribulation was definitely abnormal. To be safe, the disciples of the various academies who heard the news had the idea of escaping as soon as possible. Chapter 4885. If it was just fake news, then they would at most have to wait a few more years for the next path of giants to open. But if it was really the thunder burial, then they would lose everything if they lost their lives. As the instigators of all this, Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing did not care about the reactions of the people outside. The two of them stared at Lin Yi, who was in the middle of the thunder tribulation. They watched as Lin Yi became more and more relaxed under the thunder tribulation. Their eyes were about to bleed. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Bao Zuoyang no longer had the arrogance and confidence he had at the beginning. At this moment, his whole person became hysterical. With a ferocious expression, he roared, "Impossible! He can't possibly withstand such a strong thunder tribulation. My eyes are playing tricks on me. Yes, it must be my eyes playing tricks on me. This guy has already been electrocuted to death. It's just that his body is stiff from the electricity. That must be it." At this moment, Lin Yi, who was in the middle of the thunder tribulation, changed into a more comfortable position, breaking this guy's self-deceiving fantasy on the spot. Bao Zuoyang was stunned speechless. The muscles on his face twitched crazily. Compared to the calm Lin Yi, who was in the middle of the thunder tribulation, he looked more like he had been struck by lightning. Maybe he took a lot of profound thunder pills in advance. That's why he can withstand such a strong thunder tribulation? Su Kexing frowned. He could not think of any other explanation. However, the profound thunder pill could only form a layer of lightning buffer on the surface of the body. In the end, the power of the lightning would still enter the body. It was just that the method was more gentle. He had never heard of anyone being able to withstand such a terrifying thunder tribulation after taking a lot of profound thunder pills. After all, no matter how gentle and harmless the method was, so much lightning power could not be fake, right? As long as it was a human, he should have exploded. How could he be completely fine? No matter how many profound thunder pills he took, I must kill him this time. I must kill him. Bao Zuoyang did not care about that at all. Right now, all he could think of was to kill Lin Yi at all costs. Originally, the lightning tribulations of 10 people had already reached the limit of the lightning guiding banner. He gritted his teeth and made a determined effort to give Lin Yi a super lightning tribulation that was 15 times stronger. Lin Yi was happy, but Bao Zuoyang was out of luck. Previously, Bao Zuoyang had mobilized 3 lightning tribulations that were 10 times stronger than normal. The lightning guiding banner was so hot that it was on the verge of burning. Now, he had to face a lightning tribulations that were 15 times stronger than normal. No matter how good the quality of the lightning tribulations was, it could not withstand such torment. Under the extremely high load, the lightning guiding banner was finally unable to withstand it. A spark suddenly appeared on its surface, and it was instantly burned to ashes. Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing were dumbfounded at the same time. They stared blankly at the pile of ashes in front of them, unable to react. The lightning guiding banner did not kill Lin Yi, but instead burned itself to ashes. What kind of bullshit situation was this? After staring blankly for a long time, Bao Zhuoyang suddenly cried out in pain. With a sullen face he murmured, "My 12 million spirit jades." The lightning guiding banner was something that he had previously obtained in a large-scale auction for a total of 12 million spirit jades. Although its use was limited, it was comparable to a divine artifact in a special occasion like the Path of a Tyrant. Naturally, its price was ridiculously high. Even with his net worth as the city lord's son, 12 million spirit jades was enough to make his heart bleed. The reason why Bao Zhuoyang had originally obtained this item was because he had the intention of preparing for the Path of a Tyrant. However, the main reason was because of a sudden impulse. In fact, after bidding for it on the spot, he regretted it. This time he was able to use it to deal with Lin Yi. It was a rare opportunity to make the best use of it. According to Bao Zhuoyang's plan, after using it, he would secretly sell the lightning guiding banner on the black market. On one hand he could destroy the evidence and on the other hand he could recoup his capital. It was killing two birds with one stone. In the end, not only was the evidence destroyed, but the 12 million spirit jades were also destroyed. This time, Bao Zhuoyang had really suffered a great loss. Forget it, it's not too much of a loss to buy Lin Yi's life with 12 million spirit jades. Bao Zhuoyang could only comfort himself like this. He could see that Lin Yi was already struggling when the lightning tribulation was 10 times stronger than before. This time it was 15 times stronger than before. It would definitely be the last straw that broke the camel's back. Even a mountain opening stage tyrant could be struck to death. How could Lin Yi, who was merely a nascent soul-perfected expert, not die? "Young Master Bao, why don't we leave?" Su Kexing, who was at the side, pulled Bao Zhuoyang with a bitter smile. At this time he clearly saw a figure slowly walking out of the lightning tribulation point. If it was not Lin Yi, who else could it be? Damn. Bao Zhuoyang's eyes widened and he was speechless. He looked at Lin Yi as if he was looking at a ghost. To be able to survive 15 times stronger lightning tribulation, and looking at his expression he was actually very relaxed. Was he a human or a ghost? Seeing Lin Yi's gaze sweeping over, the two of them immediately felt their hearts in their throats. They hurriedly hid behind the huge boulder. Although they could not kill Lin Yi, the two of them had done something wrong. If they were to look at Lin Yi directly, they might expose themselves. Run. Hurry up and run. Bao Zhuoyang did not have the time to be angry. He was so scared that his face turned pale and he turned around to leave. He did not dare to stay in this place any longer. Even 15 times stronger lightning tribulation could not kill Lin Yi. What was even more ridiculous was that he actually succeeded in breaking through to the profound ascension stage. Facing such a terrifying monster, if they did not run now, were they going to stay and wait for death? The more the two of them thought about it, the more scared they became. Taking advantage of the fact that Lin Yi had not noticed them, they hurriedly ran away. In fact, the two of them were thinking too much. Lin Yi did not even suspect that the two of them were behind this. He thought that it was because he had too many attributes, especially the lightning attribute, which had become a lightning rod. That was why he attracted a super lightning tribulation that was far beyond ordinary people. Looking around at the other lightning tribulation spots, what made Lin Yi feel strange was that other than Bao Zhuoyang and Su Kexing, who had left at some point, no one else had broken through, including Wang Xinyan and the others. Could it be that they were affected by him? Lin Yi could not help but wonder. Could it be that because he was a lightning rod, he attracted the lightning tribulation of the people around him? It had to be said that this guess was very reliable. It was just that Lin Yi was not a natural lightning rod but a man-made one. He was being manipulated by those two cowards behind the scenes. At this time there were no onlookers around. Most of the people had been scared away. The few who were left were brave people, but even when they saw Lin Yi come out, they did not have the slightest intention of coming over. Chapter 4886. If they got too close and accidentally made this ruthless person unhappy, they wouldn't even know how they died. Moreover, although Lin Yi's Thunder Retribution Point was empty, after seeing such a terrifying thunder retribution just now, who would dare to use it? It was better to be patient and wait for the others to see the situation. Lin Yi did not pay attention to these people, nor did he leave directly. Instead he stayed to protect everyone. With him and the protection of the formation, everyone had no worries about breaking through to profound ascension. Without Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing secretly causing trouble, after a short while, everyone finally triggered the thunder retribution again and officially began to break through to profound ascension. Lin Yi was naturally most concerned about Wang Xinyan, Huang Xiaotao and Hui Yudi. Looking at their painful expressions, Lin Yi wished he could replace them, but unfortunately there was nothing he could do. Although the three women had all taken the Thunder Shen pill, which could greatly reduce the pain brought by the thunder retribution, the power of the thunder and lightning still had to enter their bodies. This process was still very painful for them who did not have the thunder attribute spirit root. However, cultivators had always been against the heavens. If they couldn't even stand this pain, then don't even think about breaking through to profound ascension. The only thing Lin Yi could do was to stay on the side and watch, waiting for the three women to break out of their seclusion. In less than half a day, Wang Xinyan finally broke out of her seclusion. After all, she was the proud disciple of the divine nun of the Eastern Sea. Her strength was far stronger than the average master of the same level. Naturally, her breakthrough was more natural. The next to break out was Hui Yudi. Her cultivation talent was only slightly inferior to Wang Xinyan's, and she had been stuck in the Yuanying Great Perfection for many years. Her foundation was deep, so this time she broke through to profound ascension was a typical example of good preparation. Her successful advancement was expected. Lin Yi couldn't help but be overjoyed. In this way, 3 of the 4 of them had succeeded, and the last one left was Huang Xiaotao. However, as time passed, Huang Xiaotao's progress was not as smooth as Wang Xinyan's and Hui Yudi's. This was actually not difficult to understand. 3 months ago, she was still at the golden core stage. Now, her strength was purely based on the 7 vitality cultivating pills. Even if she was a perfect nascent soul like Lin Yi, it was inevitable that her foundation was insufficient. If it was just a fight, it wouldn't have much of an effect on the surface. But at the final juncture of breaking through to profound ascension, a lack of foundation would be a fatal flaw. At the very least, it wouldn't be as smooth as Wang Xinyan and Hui Yudi's. The entire process would become very difficult, and the chances of failure would be very high. Before entering, the alliance leader had already said that the first attempt at profound ascension was extremely important. If they failed this time, it would be even more difficult to try again in the future. It was practically impossible to succeed. In other words, once Huang Xiaotao failed, she would basically have no fate with the profound ascension stage and could only stop at the peak nascent soul stage. After seeing this, Wang Xinyan and Hui Yudi immediately lost their joy of advancing. They could only stay by Lin Yi's side anxiously, praying for Huang Xiaotao. "Him? Something's wrong?" Lin Yi suddenly frowned. "What's wrong?" Wang Xinyan and Hui Yudi looked at each other. "Look, the thunder above Xiaotao has begun to weaken, but it looks like her spirit root hasn't been completely integrated yet?" Lin Yi said worriedly. "Really?" Wang Xinyan was shocked to see this. At this time, Huang Xiaotao's expression was indeed very complicated. In addition to the stimulation of the thunder power, only the integration of the spirit root would be so painful. Right, I also feel that the thunder isn't as strong as I imagined. In the end, it's a little not enough to temper the spirit root. Fortunately, I integrated it fast enough or else I might have failed. Hui Yudi said with lingering fear. The thunder was undoubtedly a kind of torture, but at the same time, it was an indispensable source of power for the integration of the spirit root. Once the thunder weakened at the end, it was inevitable that everything would fail. This was something that Lin Yi deeply understood. Actually, it's not just you and Xiaotao's thunder is weaker. Look at the others, their thunder is much weaker than the ones we saw on the way here. Lin Yi shook his head. Oh right, now that you mention it, it's really true. Wang Xinyan and Hui Yudi finally noticed this and couldn't help but ask curiously, why is that? I'm not sure, but the strength of the thunder I attracted before was dozens of times stronger than yours and not just once. Perhaps it was affected by me. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Dozens of times stronger? The 2 girls were shocked at the same time. They checked Lin Yi from head to toe with lingering fear, and only relaxed when they saw that he wasn't injured. They looked at each other. As the 3 of them spoke, the thunder on Huang Xiaotao's side became weaker and weaker, and it looked like it was about to disappear. Seeing this, Lin Yi panicked. They were going to fail. Thinking quickly, Lin Yi looked around and found that there was no one watching. The remaining 2 saw that Lin Yi didn't have any intention of interfering, so they quickly sneaked into Wang Xinyan and Hui Yudi's thunder spot. This was called the bold die from overeating, the timid die from starvation. It's over. Wang Xinyan and Hui Yudi's hearts tightened at the same time. If the thunder dissipated halfway, Huang Xiaotao would really fail this time. At this time, lightning suddenly flashed in Lin Yi's eyes, and he raised his hand to add a lightning strike. This scene really shocked the two girls. They knew that Lin Yi could use the power of thunder and lightning, but in the past, it was at most a thin electric arc. How could it be as thick as this bucket in front of them? The thunder was already gradually weakening, but after Lin Yi added such a strike, it suddenly became amazing again. Although it didn't last long, Huang Xiaotao was already at the last moment. This time Lin Yi's lightning strike caused her to suffer additional pain, but it also helped her to successfully fuse with the spirit root, breaking out of seclusion and becoming a new profound ascension master. Great! Wang Xinyan and Hui Yudi were overjoyed, but when they turned to look at Lin Yi, they had an expression as if they were looking at a monster. Lin Yi's move just now was too shocking, even they couldn't accept it for a moment. The power of a casual lightning strike was comparable to the thunder tribulation, then wouldn't Lin Yi be able to easily help others pass the tribulation? This was simply a living thunder tribulation spot. Although the profound ascension early stage and the nascent soul great perfection could not be mentioned in the same breath, they were two completely different realms of strength, but wasn't Lin Yi's strength increased too exaggerated? A casual lightning strike was comparable to the thunder tribulation, then wouldn't Lin Yi really be invincible in the profound ascension stage in the future? Chapter 4887. In fact, they had all misunderstood. Lin Yi's attack just now was his strongest attack, and it was because his body had just absorbed a lot of lightning power that had not yet been integrated. If he were to do it again, even Lin Yi's strongest attack would not be as strong as it was just now. In the end, Lin Yi was only a mysterious ascending stage master, and he had just advanced successfully. His strength had not completely stabilized yet. Even if he was an unprecedented 8-spirit profound ascending stage master, it was impossible for him to casually summon lightning punishment. That would be too exaggerated. Everyone is here, everyone succeeded, that's great. Huang Xiaotao was a little weak, but when she saw everyone she was still excited. All 4 of them had succeeded, it was a cause for celebration. Hehe, you should rest a little. How about a 7-stage recover pill to replenish your energy? Lin Yi laughed. Huang Xiaotao's breakthrough this time was very difficult. At this time she was almost exhausted, so it was normal for her to be weak. No need, no need. I'll be fine after a rest. Let's save it for an emergency. Huang Xiaotao waved her hand and then said to everyone with some joy, speaking of which, I was really lucky just now. There were actually 2 lightning punishments. If it wasn't for that, I would have definitely failed. I was really scared just now. Everyone looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. This girl was still in the dark. Silly girl, you are indeed lucky, but this luck is not given by the heavens but by him. Wang Xinyan smiled and pointed at Lin Yi. What do you mean? Huang Xiaotao was confused. Sister Xiaotao, Lin Yi was the one who added the second bolt of lightning to you, Hui Yudi explained on her behalf. Are you serious? You can even add lightning punishment? Huang Xiaotao was shocked as well. She had always blindly worshipped Lin Yi's strength, but she never thought that it would be this exaggerated. Even a mountain opening master might not be able to do something like this, let alone a mystic ascending master. It was simply subverting common sense. The situation this time is special. Next time it won't be so powerful. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. In fact, releasing such a powerful lightning strike just now made him feel very happy in his heart. However, it would be difficult to have such an experience in the future. Of course, it was not completely impossible for it to happen again. If he could accumulate additional lightning power in his body like he did just now, it was still possible for him to achieve the feat of controlling lightning tribulation again. However, the conditions for that were too harsh and could not be achieved under normal circumstances. The 4 of them successfully broke through without any mishap. Lin Yi and the 3 women were in a good mood and did not leave. Instead, they chatted and laughed as they waited for the others to break through. After waiting for about a week, all the Morning Star disciples finally came out. Hui Yudi's friends from the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy also came out one after another. In the end, some were happy while others were sad. To be more precise, 1 was happy while 10 were sad. In the past, under the best circumstances of the Path of Giants, nearly 30% of the disciples would eventually advance. However, because they were implicated this time, the lightning tribulations that they attracted were generally weaker. Although the danger was greatly reduced, and even those disciples who did not prepare the lightning Shen core did not suffer any serious injuries, there was a huge aftereffect. Almost everyone was in the same situation as Huang Xiaotao, where the lightning tribulations were insufficient. However, they did not have such good treatment as Huang Xiaotao. Lin Yi would not be so bored as to give them lightning tribulations. In fact, even if he wanted to, the power of the lightning strikes would not be enough. In the end, other than Lin Yi and the other three as well as Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing who had left long ago, only 5 out of the nearly 50 people succeeded in breaking through. Furthermore, every process seemed especially difficult and lucky. If their luck had been slightly worse, they would probably have failed like the other unlucky people. In other words, if Lin Yi and the others were not included, the success rate of the remaining people was a pitiful little more than 10%. Compared to the previous Path of Giants, such a miserable ratio was definitely at the bottom. It was difficult to find someone worse than them. It could only be said that this group of people was really unlucky to have met Lin Yi. Of course, this could not be blamed on Lin Yi. If there was anyone to blame, it could only be Bao Zuoyang and Su Kexing. If not for these two fellows, they would not have been so miserable. It could be said that it was their misery that made Lin Yi shine. Otherwise, how could he be an expert of the 8-spirit profound realm? Don't even think about it. They did not succeed, but fortunately they were not seriously injured. It could be considered a blessing in misfortune. Everyone could only smile bitterly and comfort themselves. What made Lin Yi a little surprised was that Qin Yu was among the 5 people who succeeded in breaking through to the profound ascension realm. So many people had failed, and those who could still succeed in this situation were not ordinary people. It could be seen that this Qin Yu was not simple. Seeing Lin Yi's gaze sweep over, Qin Yu quickly nodded gratefully. However, perhaps because there were too many people, she did not dare to say it in public and could only silently thank him. To be honest, she was able to successfully advance this time. On one hand, it was because she had the strength, but on the other hand, it was because of the Thunder Shen core that Lin Yi gave her. It was because of the Thunder Shen core that she could focus on fusing with the spirit root. Otherwise, if she had to endure the pain of the thunder tribulation while condensing the spirit root, there was a high chance that she would fail. In addition to Qin Yu, there was also a familiar face among the 5 people. That was Lu Xiaozhong. This guy was worthy of being the son of a mountain opening stage giant. Not only did he follow his father's rogue style, even his strength was not small. Among the 5 people, he was the one who had the easiest time breaking through to the profound ascension realm. Seeing that everyone had come out, Lin Yi said, "Everyone, it's rare to come to the path of a giant. I plan to go inside and take a look. If you have any ideas, you can come with me. If you don't want to, I won't force you. However, I suggest that you try to go together. After all, there are a few masters of the profound ascension stage among you, so no one should come to trouble you." The implication was that if everyone was alone, it would be hard to say. In this kind of place, killing people and robbing treasures was a very normal thing, especially when most of them were at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Once they were targeted by a master of the profound ascension stage, they wouldn't even have the strength to fight back. Everyone couldn't help but look at each other. Although the path of a giant was filled with heavenly materials and earthly treasures, they also needed to be strong enough to enter. A freak like Lin Yi naturally didn't care, but they didn't have the confidence to do so. Chapter 4888. Not only them, even these newly advanced early-stage profound ascension experts were shaking their heads at this moment. Breaking through to the profound ascension realm had already exhausted them. Although heavenly materials and earthly treasures were good, if they were greedy and rashly went deeper, it might turn a good thing into a bad thing. "Master Lin, we have the will but not the strength. We really don't dare to stay in this place for long. Please forgive us." Everyone looked at each other and said, "Oh, it's fine. Then everyone can leave together. We can take care of each other." Lin Yi smiled. Although he was surprised that so many people chose to leave at the same time, there was no need to force it. After all, everyone had their own ambitions. "Master Lin, take care." Everyone immediately cupped their hands and said their goodbyes. This time Lin Yi, as the temporary leader, found a thunder retribution point for each of them. Regardless of whether they succeeded or not, they still remembered Lin Yi's kindness. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, they probably wouldn't even be able to get a thunder retribution point, let alone break through to the profound ascension realm. "Everyone take care." Lin Yi nodded. Seeing that Qin Yu also left with the crowd, and the two male disciples from the Morning Star Academy were still by her side, he couldn't help but frown. However, Linny didn't say much. Now was not the time to ask. Whatever secrets Qin Yu had, they could wait until they returned to the Morning Star Academy. After watching the group of Morning Star Academy disciples leave, Huiyuti, who was at the side, suddenly had a somewhat awkward expression. She hesitated for a moment before saying, I also have to go back. Ah? Linny was stunned. He thought that he would be able to spend more time with Huiyuti. He didn't expect that even she would have to leave. Before I came out this time, Master had repeatedly warned me that no matter what, I must advance and retreat with the disciples from the Morning Pride Academy and the Soaring Cloud Academy. No matter if I succeed or not, I must leave as soon as possible. Huiyuti smiled bitterly. She also wanted to stay with Lin Yi, but it was hard to disobey Master's orders. If that's the case, then you should go back first. Anyway, we won't have to worry about not having a chance to meet again in the future. Be careful on the road. Lin Yi immediately nodded. Yeah, you too. Huiyuti gave Lin Yi a light hug, unwilling to part with him. She turned around to say goodbye to Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao. Take care of yourselves, sisters. I'll be taking my leave first. We'll meet again. Come to Morning Star to play with us when you're free. Huang Xiaotao laughed, but immediately realized that Morning Star Academy and Morning Pride Academy were sworn enemies. As a proud disciple of Morning Pride Academy, how could Huiyuti casually come to Morning Star Academy? Wouldn't that be drawing hatred for no reason? Seeing her embarrassed expression, Huiyuti couldn't help but smile. In fact, you two sisters can also go to Soaring Cloud Academy when you have time. Fei is there and us four sisters can get together. That's good. We can make a mahjong table. Wang Xinyan glanced at Lin Yi flirtatiously. This guy's luck with women was really good. He had only been in Sky Class Island for 2 years, and he already had so many sisters. Each of them was more noble than the last, and each of them was more beautiful than the last. Wang Xinyan really didn't know what to say. Lin Yi awkwardly rubbed his nose and asked, "Oh right, Yuti, are you still going to Morning Pride Academy, or are you going to the Mystic Ocean soon?" That won't be the case. Although profound ascending stage masters usually don't stay in Golden Class Academies for too long, the Mystic Schools in the Mystic Ocean don't just randomly recruit disciples. You have to wait for the notice. Otherwise, it'll be useless even if you go early. Huiyuti shook her head. Yes, it's the same for Morning Star Academy. I heard from Master that on the day of the Mystic Academy's open disciple selection, all the Golden Class Academies will send their profound ascending stage disciples together. Along the way, we'll compete with each other to see who sends the most profound ascending stage disciples and who is the strongest. Wang Xinyan followed. That's good. Even if we don't have the chance before then, we'll be able to meet again when we go to the Mystic Ocean. Yuti will meet again. Lin Yi relaxed. We'll meet again. Huiyuti nodded and reluctantly said goodbye to everyone. Only then did she leave with her companions. The people from Morning Star Academy and Huiyuti also left. At this time there were only 3 people left beside Lin Yi. Needless to say, Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, and the other one was Lu Xiaozhong. This guy was a real exception. Although he didn't know Lin Yi for long, he remembered his father Lu Dechang's instructions very well. No matter what he did, he would follow wherever Lin Yi went. Anyway, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. If Lin Yi ate the meat, he would more or less get some soup. Lin Yi and the others didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This guy was just like his dad, a weirdo. Fortunately, he'd been obedient the whole way and hadn't caused any trouble for them, so they let him follow them. At most, he'd help them out a little in times of danger. Let's go and see the path of a tyrant. We won't have the chance to come again next time. Lin Yi waved his hand and personally led the way for everyone. Although it was safe to walk along the main road, they definitely wouldn't see anything good. So he once again led everyone into the desolate forest path. The dense fog was desolate and uninhabited. From time to time, there would be 1 or 2 strange cries coming from the surroundings. They didn't know what kind of creature it was, but it was creepy. What the hell is this place? Lu Xiaozhong looked around at the misty surroundings and felt a chill down his spine. Lin Yi had brought them through small paths before, and he was only a perfected nascent soul cultivator back then, but it didn't feel as creepy as it was now. After all, at that time, all the disciples of Morning Star Academy were moving together. There were many people and they were relatively close to the exit of the teleportation array. Normally there wouldn't be any terrifying things, so they were still quite confident. But now Lu Xiaozhong faintly felt as if something was staring at him, which made him feel creepy. But if he used his divine sense to sense it, he couldn't feel anything. Wasn't this like seeing a ghost in broad daylight? I also feel a little weird. Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao were affected by him and couldn't help but shrink their necks. They subconsciously moved closer to Lin Yi. Only by Lin Yi's side could they find a sense of security. Don't be nervous, everyone, just be a little more careful. After all, this is the path of a tyrant. If there aren't any powerful things, then what kind of treasures can we hope to find? Lin Yi smiled faintly. Chapter 4889. As they spoke, a black shadow flitted across the misty sky. It looked like a giant bird, but they couldn't see what it looked like. All they knew was that it was extremely fast as any flying spirit beast Lin Yi had seen before. The jade on his chest suddenly sounded a warning, and Lin Yi's eyelids twitched. He grabbed Xinyan and Xiaotao with one hand and kicked Lu Xiaozhong away at the same time. Xinyan and the others didn't even have time to react before a thick bolt of lightning struck down from the sky, right where they were standing. This bolt of lightning was as thick as a bucket, and judging from its power, it shouldn't be weaker than Lin Yi's lightning strike from before. If it weren't for the jade warning, Lin Yi wouldn't have been able to dodge it with the speed of lightning. Even if they didn't die, they'd be heavily injured. That was close. Lu Xiaozhong looked up at the sky with lingering fear. Before he could wipe away the footprints left by Lin Yi, his eyes widened. Another bolt of lightning. But this time it wasn't aimed at them but at Lin Yi. The interval between the two strikes was too short, and even though Lin Yi had the jade warning, he couldn't dodge in time. He could only push the two girls away. No matter how fast he was, there was no way he could outrun lightning. Boom. The lightning struck right on top of Lin Yi's head, giving Xinyan and the others quite a fright. This lightning was comparable to a small tribulation lightning, and it was enough to kill someone if it hit their body. But before they could show their worried expressions, they saw Lin Yi stretching his body as if nothing had happened. Looking at him, there wasn't a single injury on his body. Are you okay? Xinyan and Xiaotao, on the other hand, rubbed their eyes in disbelief. Lu Xiaozhong, on the other hand, had just gotten up from the ground when he saw what was happening. I'm fine. Lin Yi shook his head nonchalantly. He too had broken out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he was a master of electricity himself. As long as the power of the lightning didn't exceed his level by too much, it wouldn't cause much damage. Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao looked at each other and heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that Lin Fan was really fine. Lu Xiaozhong secretly stuck out his tongue. His dad was right. This Master Lin was simply an unreasonable monster. He couldn't care less about the expressions on everyone's faces as he raised his head to look at the blurry silhouette in the sky, prepared for a few more bolts of lightning. He wasn't afraid of it, but Xinyan and the others wouldn't be able to handle it. However, the black shadow seemed to be a little surprised. It circled above everyone's head a few times, and after Cha-Cha made two strange sounds, it quickly disappeared into the clouds. That bird left? Scared away by Master Lin? Lu Xiaozhong was shocked by Lin Yi. He didn't know what kind of bird it was, but he was sure that it was a rare bird. He'd never heard of a bird that could produce lightning like a lightning strike. But what shocked him even more was that the bird flew away after seeing that Lin Yi was unharmed. Didn't it get scared away by Lin Yi? Scared away by me? How is that possible? Lin Yi shook his head, speechless. He used his spirit to look for the ghost and asked, "Senior, what kind of spirit beast was that?" "A lightning eagle." The ghost said with a sigh, "This kind of eagle is very rare. It can't be found in the base camp of the South Island. I didn't expect to see it in this place. But it's no wonder. They live with thunder and lightning. It's hard to find a more suitable place for them to live than Thunderous Plain Island. So powerful. That lightning strike is comparable to a lightning strike. If I didn't get a warning, something bad would have happened," Lin Yi said with lingering fear. In the past, the lightning eagle could be mentioned in the same breath as the ghost-eyed eagle king of the eagle royal family, but because of their scarcity, they couldn't compete with the ghost-eyed eagle king. This is an expert in playing with thunder and lightning. The one just now should be close to adulthood. Even if its strength hasn't reached the mountain opening stage, it should at least be at the profound ascension great circle. Especially in this place that is covered with thunder clouds, it is enough to easily fight against enemies of a higher level. No wonder it's so fierce. But why did it fly away after striking me once? Are lightning eagles so easy to negotiate with? Lin Yi asked curiously. Easy to negotiate? This is a famous eagle. A lightning eagle dares to challenge 4 or 5 ghost-eye eagle kings. Do you think they're easy to negotiate with? The ghost couldn't help but laugh. Then why did it let us go? Linny was getting more and more confused. He didn't think that he was the one who intimidated the lightning eagle. Although he didn't have close contact with it, he could feel that he was no match for it. At most, he could use his advantage of not being afraid of lightning to fight it. As for Wang Xinyan and the others, they wouldn't be able to block a single strike from the eagle. It probably thought that you're one of its kind. That's why it didn't continue to attack. The ghost laughed. One of its kind? Linny froze. His first reaction was disbelief, but he quickly recovered. It was normal for a spirit beast at the lightning eagle's level to be able to take on a human form. Lightning eagles were probably the only ones that could do that too. After the lightning eagle's interlude, Lin Yi continued to lead the group forward. This time Wang Xinyan and the others' expressions were much more serious. They had to be careful with every step they took. Previously, because he had just become a mysterious ascended early-stage expert, he was a little overconfident. However, after seeing the power of the lightning eagle, he finally knew that the path of a tyrant was indeed filled with danger. A mere mysterious ascended early-stage strength was not safe at all. If he was not careful, he would really die. But very quickly they showed a shocked expression again. It wasn't because of a dangerous spirit beast, but because the scene in front of them was too dreamy. The ground was filled with treasures. Whether it was Lin Yi, Wang Xinyan, Huang Xiaotao, or Lu Xiaozhong, they were all people who had seen the world. They had seen all kinds of treasures, but they had never seen a scene like this. Treasures were everywhere like weeds. They could be trampled to death with just 2 steps. What the fuck is this? When did spirit herbs become cabbages? Lu Xiaozhong's eyes were wide open. Chapter 4890. Should we pick some then? Huang Xiaotao turned her head. Of course, wouldn't it be a wasted trip otherwise? Lin Yi smiled faintly. These herbs weren't as rare as the thunder cane vine, but they were all of high quality and could be sold for a high price outside. After checking the surroundings and making sure there was no danger, the group started picking the herbs eagerly. Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao, on the other hand, knew their stuff and picked the rare high-level herbs. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't seem to have any intention of doing anything at all. The herbs here were good, but his storage in the jade space had reached a certain size, and he didn't need to go on a rampage. At most, he'd catch a glimpse of some rare herbs and Lin Yi would pick a few of them. Lu Xiaozhong, on the other hand, coveted the herbs on the ground, but he didn't know a thing about them. Most of the time, he couldn't even tell the difference between wild grass and herbs. Asking him to do this was like forcing a duck onto a perch. In the end, he wasn't even picking for himself, but carrying the bags for Wang Xinyan and the others. They were busy picking as they moved forward, and Lin Yi suddenly stopped and gave the 3 a look. Xinyan and the other 2 acted as if they were facing a powerful foe. They quickly got into a defensive position, thinking that they'd run into some dangerous spirit beast again. After a while, they realized that they hadn't run into a spirit beast, but a person. And I Kaiwei and I Xianzi, stop looking and hand it over. Don't think that your followers will come and save you here. I advise you not to think too much. A feminine man's voice suddenly came from not far ahead. You're right. Don't think too much. A feminine man's voice suddenly came from not far ahead. Chang Lading, it's you. It was a girl and her voice sounded sweet and innocent. Of course it's me and I Xianzi. Your little tricks might be able to get rid of your followers, but it's child's play in front of me. It's not even a trick, it's just child's play, ha. The feminine man laughed. You're shameless, trying to steal my stuff? The girl was furious. So what? Scream, scream and see if anyone will come to save you? Aha, now that you mention it, it's really funny. If you didn't think that you could get rid of those followers, to be honest, I really couldn't do anything to you. In your eyes, they are just flies and bugs, but in fact, they are your saviors. It's just that you got rid of your saviors. Isn't that funny? The feminine-looking man sneered disdainfully. It seemed that he had been dumped by a woman before. You despicable bastard, you even dare to rob me. Aren't you afraid of being exposed? The woman panicked. Exposed? I am the Tao companion designated by your master. Even if you run out and tell others that I snatched you away, would anyone believe you? Ah. The feminine man laughed again. No, someone will definitely believe me. Master will definitely believe me. The woman's panicked voice clearly revealed her lack of confidence. It could be seen that even she did not have full confidence in her master. Why don't you give it a try? Let's see if that old thing will help you or me. Little girl, it's your fault for not agreeing to me. It's your fault for not giving me a good face no matter what. How about it? You're scared to tears, right? If you listened to that old thing and followed me, then today's matter wouldn't have happened. Are you regretting it now? Wah. The feminine-looking man said proudly. Lin Yi and the others looked at each other with strange expressions. The matter was already very clear. It was common to kill people and steal their treasures, but it was the first time they had seen someone steal their own Dao companion. Strange things really happened every day. Today was especially strange. Lin Yi was speechless. There was only one thought in his mind now. Was this man a pervert? If not, what man would steal his Dao companion? If he didn't know how to be tender to the fairer sex, could he still be called a man? One had to know that even someone like Ren Zhongyuan, who Lin Yi didn't like, still knew how to treat women. Even if he couldn't get Hui Yudi, he'd still think of all sorts of ways to get on her good side. There was no way he'd kidnap Hui Yudi. But then again, what good stuff did this woman have on her that her Dao companion would be so greedy that he would disregard propriety and try to steal her? Chang Lading? Xinyan frowned, deep in thought. What's wrong? Lin Yi looked at her, a little surprised. I think I've heard of this person before. Xinyan frowned. She had been in the eastern continent for a few years now, and although she didn't know much about the outside world, she had heard some rumors. Finally, she thought of a person. Could this person be one of the strongest original soul masters in the eastern continent's Huang-class waters? Oh right, I remember now. Isn't this Chang Lading one of the 4 original soul masters? He's always been so arrogant. Lu Xiaozhong interrupted. Another one of the strongest original soul masters? There was Wang Dianxing before and now there's this Chang Lading. Just how many original soul masters are there? Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. By the way, what are these 4 original soul masters? Master Lin, you might not know this, but the 4 original soul masters are well known in the eastern continent's Huang-class waters. Wang Dianxing from the Leidong Academy is the leader, and they're known as the strongest original soul masters in the Huang-class waters. Each of them has a strong background and so they're called the 4 original soul masters. Chang Lading seems to be one of them. Lu Xiaozhong explained, his face full of mockery and disdain. It was obvious that he didn't like the 4 original soul masters. From now on, there will be no more original soul masters, because there's no strongest, only stronger. Huang Xiaotao looked at Lin Yi and giggled. That's for sure. Wang Dianxing isn't even comparable to a dog in front of our master Lin, let alone the 4 young masters of the nascent soul realm. Lu Xiaozhong chuckled as he recalled the scene where Lin Yi sent Wang Dianxing flying with a slap. He was secretly pleased that Lin Yi had taken revenge for him. I don't count, I'm from the North Island. Lin Yi touched his nose awkwardly. At that moment, a sharp voice came from the other side. Who is it? Who's that? Then, a strong wave of energy came out, and the trees on both sides were flattened in an instant. The situation on both sides was clear. Chapter 4891. The man who spoke was dressed in white, and he looked like Chang Lading. No wonder he was listed as one of the 4 nascent soul princes. He had the demeanor of a young master. 3 steps in front of him was a woman in pink with a veil over her face. Although her face couldn't be seen clearly, one could see that she had a voluptuous figure. Her body was as seductive as Hui Yudi's, and she had a kawaii temperament that made people unconsciously have a good impression of her. Seeing that Chang Lading was looking at them with an unfriendly expression, Lin Yi asked indifferently, "What's wrong with talking? Are people not allowed to talk?" "Oh, you're pretty good, aren't you?" Chang Lading's gaze immediately fell on Lin Yi. He carefully looked him up and down. Seeing that the other's aura was restrained and calm, he sneered, "Have you heard of my name, Chang Lading? I heard you say it yourself just now. Look, you're saying it again. Aren't you Chang Lading?" Lin Yi shrugged. "Since you know it's me, why don't you get lost?" Chang Lading didn't even bother to look at Lin Yi. His gaze fell on Wang Xinyan, and his expression was obviously a little different. Although Huang Xiaotao was also a stunning beauty, she was wearing a veil and she wasn't famous in the East Continent. It was normal that people didn't know her. However, Wang Xinyan was the 3rd goddess and she wasn't wearing a veil. Even if he didn't recognize her at first glance, he would definitely be able to recognize her after a short look. A graceful lady was a gentleman's desire. Even a nascent soul prince like Chang Lading would drool over a beauty like the 3rd goddess. However, he didn't show his perverted side. Instead, he turned his head to look at the woman he was forcing, and his face showed a bit of surprise. "Get lost? Why should I get lost?" Lin Yi turned his head to Wang Xinyan and asked, Is the path of a tycoon divided into regions? This place doesn't allow people from other academies to enter, so it belongs to them. Isn't it a place where everyone can come and go as they please? Xinyan couldn't help but cover her mouth with a smile. She knew that Lin Yi had a weird personality, just like the first time she met him, when he'd screwed over those scammers on the train. It felt like a lifetime ago, but it was right before her eyes. She couldn't help but feel a little dazed. I, little Lu, have never heard of such a rule. If this place is really not a place that can be casually entered, then wouldn't you be struck by lightning the moment you step in? It's really scary. Should I, little Lu, hide quickly? Lu Xiaozhong joked with a face full of ridicule. Listening to these words, Chang Lading was about to explode from anger. From head to toe, these two people simply didn't put him, the fourth young master of the nascent soul realm, in their eyes. This was simply preposterous. Tell me your name and your school. Chang Lading pointed at Lin Yi aggressively, knowing that he was the backbone of this group. He smiled coldly. I, Chang Lading, will give you a chance to tell me who you are. If you really have a good background, then I'll consider crippling you instead of killing you. I told you, these so-called fourth young masters of the nascent soul realm are all so cocky. It's rare to see someone this arrogant, isn't it? Lu Xiaozhong grinned. Wang Xinyan and Huang Xiaotao frowned. This was a very cocky tone. At first, they'd thought that he'd give in because he had a strong background, but now he was going to cripple someone even if he had a strong background. It seemed that there was nothing in the eastern continent that he was afraid of anymore. After all, Chang Lading wasn't just strong himself, he also had a strong background. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become one of the fourth young masters of the nascent soul realm. I'm from the North Island, Lin Yi. Have you heard of me? Lin Yi said faintly. From the North Island? What bullshit. Chang Lading was stunned for a moment. Although he asked this question arrogantly, he also wanted to find out the background of the other party, in case he didn't know who he had provoked. He didn't expect that the other party was just a guy from the North Island. What was there to be afraid of from a weak place like the North Island? He didn't even have the right to ask a single question. He had been too careful to ask about the background of such a small fry, but it was no wonder that he was afraid. After all, the other party was with Wang Xinyan, one of the three fairies. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't be simple, right? Who knew it would be such a ridiculous answer? What about the North Island? Lin Yi didn't seem to be angry at all. Instead, he looked at the other party with interest. The North Island? In a place like the East Continent, anyone would think that the North Island is beneath them. If I were you, I wouldn't tell anyone where I came from. It's too embarrassing. You'll be laughed at. Chang Lading laughed and curled his lips in disdain. Don't tell me you're from the North Island. Even if you're a student from the Leidong Academy, it's all bullshit if Wang Dianxing doesn't personally ask me for you. Wang Dianxing. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Wang Xinyan and the others, who had a strange expression on their faces, and said faintly, "That's a pity. I guess he won't be able to come." Nonsense. Wang Dianxing is a big shot. Why would he stand up for a nobody from the North Island like you? Chang Lading sneered. Wang Dianxing was the leader of the four young masters of the nascent soul realm. His strength and background were on par with Lin Yi. If Wang Dianxing came forward, Lin Yi would have to give him some face. However, Wang Dianxing was famous for being arrogant. He would only be friendly to people at the same level as him. Oh, I think you've misunderstood. I'm talking about him being crippled by me before. I don't think he'll be able to recover in a short time. Maybe he's still at the peak of the nascent soul realm. I don't think he'd dare to come to such a remote place. Lin Yi had a playful look on his face. Ha! I didn't know that you're such an interesting guy. Chang Lading seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He laughed so hard that he almost fell to the ground. Just when Chang Lading was about to burst into laughter, Lin Yi suddenly saw from the corner of his eye that the woman he had forced was carefully walking away. It seemed that she wanted to take this opportunity to escape. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a little funny. He didn't say anything and pretended that he didn't see it. After all, no matter who was in her situation, they would want to escape secretly. It was human nature. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.